This is the regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Johnson, Soboroff, Figueroa Villa, and Saltzman are present, and we have a quorum. Number one on the agenda, Commission comments.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to address the board on an agendized matter or during general public comment is requested to complete and submit a speaker card and hand it to a sergeant-at-arms for each agenda item on which you wish to speak. The sergeant-at-arms will deliver the speaker cards to the board secretary, who will call them in the order received. No speaker cards will be accepted once public comment has begun on the specific agenda item for which a card being submitted, or with respect to general public comment once the general public comment period has commenced. When your name is called, you have 2 minutes to speak from the podium on the agenda item. Please address your comments to the agenda item that is before the Commission. Do we have any Commissioner comments this morning?
I have, go ahead, Sandy.
I went on a tour of Davis Training Center last week. I should have went through there when I first was appointed to the commission. Very impressive. But I did want to thank Chief Beck because I went on a preview of Northeast Police, the new station, and it's awesome. I'm happy. You know, I know our officers will be happy. I can't wait till the grand opening, so thanks, Chief. That was one of my first, complaints, is that we needed a new Northeast station when I came on.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. It'll be a beautiful station, and I look forward to the opening at least as much as you do. And neither of us as much as the people that work there.
Right.
Rob? I'm good. Okay. Yeah, I have 3 shout-outs or acknowledgments. One is to the chief for a job well done in a 45-minute discussion, armchair discussion with the President of the United States. I watched the video, and I thought Chief did a great job on. It wasn't everything wasn't always right, and everything wasn't always wrong. I thought he was real, and I think the president appreciated it. But it sure made for good watching. Shout out number 2 is to Trenton Tarantino's father for calling out his kid, and I think that shows good parenting because all our kids do stupid things every once in a while, and I thought it was great that he called him out. And the third shout out I have is to Craig Lawley, the president of the Police Protective League. Although I disagree with, I can't do what he said because I don't think it's legal. He said that we shouldn't give a filming permit to Tarantino, but I would I would encourage Tarantino to do movies in Los Angeles, good for our economy, but I would agree with Craig that I sure wouldn't go see him. Thank you.
Do we have any comment cards?
Yes, sir. We have 8 comment cards. The first 4, the Red Chief Hunt, David Sanchez, Prentice Jenkins, and Jamie Garcia.
Good morning.
Good morning. I want to thank everybody here. I want to play a little.
Does free speech cost?
Can you guys?
$215,000 according to the city of Los Angeles. African-American Michael Hunt brought a lawsuit against the city of Angels after being removed from a public parks and recreation meeting back in 2011 for wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood and a profanity emblazoned t-shirt. The commission president at the time, Barry Sanders, explained to Hunt that his outfit violated the city's rules of decorum and gave him a chance to remove the offensive clothing. However, Hunt refused. He was escorted out of the assembly and given a citation for disturbance, which the city later dismissed. Attorney Stephen Rode, who represents Hunt, says his client wore the offensive clothing to test the city government. The commission's rules of decorum do prohibit audience members from engaging in disorderly or boisterous conduct, but a report on Hunt's case conducted by a city attorney found that most witnesses at the meeting did not find Hunt to be a disruption. And that's why Los Angeles City Council members chose to settle the matter out of court. Now, this wasn't the first payout from the city for Hunt. Back in 2009, a jury awarded him over $200,000 when he challenged vending restrictions on the Venice boardwalk.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted you guys to hear that. And because of the decorum has been practiced wrong, at several events here. Number one, to practice decorum for the commissioners to enforce it, you have to have posted signs. I just want to reiterate that, posted signs that everybody can read. Number two, when you take it to an outside venue like a church or something, all games matters. You cannot regulate a public meeting, even if it's at a church. Number three, I like to give Black Matters thumbs up on what they did. Nobody likes Mayor Garcetti and LA Can and things like that. But here's what we're saying is I'm getting ready to get behind these guys. You guys cannot just enforce the rules without decorum signs. Thank you, Michael Hunt.
David Sanchez.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm here, David Sanchez, PhD. I'm with the Chicano Roundtable, which is an organization for civil rights and also for historical and civil rights for the Chicano community and the community in general. I think you have to understand why we are here. We are all here because, you know, we have seen how the LAPD has treated the people. I mean, some of us, of course, have been victims by the LAPD. Myself, I had been beaten when I was a teenager, and some of us have been beaten by the LAPD and even choked and tortured and all kinds of things. And you have to understand that the history of the LAPD has been one of many atrocities for many years. And we have to understand that the LAPD needs to change. We're here because we want to improve, Charlie Beck. We want to improve the LAPD. That's why we're here. We want to stop the shootings. In regards to Angie Guzman, we feel, Norma Angie Guzman, we feel that she did not deserve the death sentence on the spot when she was killed on 22nd and San Pedro. And now we have our investigators out here looking at what happened over on Victory and Sepulveda, where a man was shot on October 3rd, and that whole thing there seems to still be in secrecy. And I think it's time that we at least begin to release the name. One of the things that we found out was that the person that was shot at the bus stop, and that the person that threw the bottle at the police car may not have been the same person they shot at the bus stop. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to find out what really happened to this man who was killed on October 3rd. I think we've been subject to too many years of anger control. Don't forget that this was part of Mexico in 1848, and ever since then we've been under anger control and also police tyranny, police who have been very cruel with the people in our communities, and we're saying that things need to change. Ya basta, we want change now.
Prentice Jenkins. Followed by Jamie Garcia.
Good morning.
Prentice Jenkins, morning. Publisher of City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. I'd like to know, we're talking about public meetings. You folks keep throwing people out of meetings when you know it's illegal to throw people out of meetings according to the Brown Act. The reality is that you continue to play this game as you want to play it. You don't think we know the rules. And it's true, most of us don't know the rules until we read the rules and we find out that it was illegal for you to throw those people out. There's going to be disruptions in meetings. There was a disruption in 1776. That's the only reason we're all here, because of disruptions. Because of your forefathers decided we're going to disrupt the police department. Remember, the Redcoats were the police department, and the police department fired into that crowd in Massachusetts, and that's when it started. Disruptions are the reason for progress in America. Absolute disruptions, absolute fighting against the police department. Those white men who fought against the police department back then, the Redcoats, they were responsible for building this country. Those slaves that they had were responsible for building this country. So when you talk about you don't want disruptions, what you're saying is your forefathers were wrong to disrupt this country. That's the only reason America exists, because of disruption, because they're saying no more. Patrick Henry said, listen, give me liberty or give me death. Let me speak here. Y'all got to kill me because I'm going to come back. Somebody's got to shoot me because I'm going to keep talking. That's what Patrick Henry said. Now, was he wrong? If he was wrong, it was that Revolutionary War was wrong. The reality is this, people. We have a right to speak, and you cannot keep us out of it. You people kept me out of this meeting. the last time and had a cop tell me the meeting wasn't going on. That was a lie.
Thank you.
Jamie Garcia, followed by Hamid Khan, Michael Williams, Agustin Cebada, and Eddie H.
Good morning.
Good morning. So my name's Jamie Garcia, Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. So I'm here to respond to several email exchanges that have been occurring between Mr. T. Fink and the Coalition and Los Angeles Community Action Network. And one thing I want to raise out of these email exchanges is this notion of convenience. It seems that this meeting itself is not convenient for the community. If we think about it, it's Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning. Most people work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and can't actually be here to represent what their concerns are. So again, when we think about convenience, who and when is this meeting convenient for? So, Mr. Johnson, so we want to know, what dates are you available to meet with the community? So when is it convenient? Why is convenience only a privilege for you? Why can't convenience be a privilege for the community? When the community is available to address you, when the community is able to articulate the concerns, when the community can actually be in a certain place and time and location to represent themselves. So I really want to encourage you to not be unfair, to not be dismissive to us, and to really think about what it means to take that extra step and meet with the community when it's convenient for the community. So the coalition, again, comes here to raise our concerns. Again, in the letter that we gave you, we were asking for a response by a certain time in writing, and you did not send that response. So I'm just here again to raise those concerns. So we know with the suspicious activity reporting program, we see a clear trend of racial profiling. Again, we're asking for further investigation into this since the commission, again, completely denies any type of racial profiling in this program. Again, we want hearings on the sabotaging the consent decree. We know that 90 out of 300 of the digital in-car video systems were sabotaged, and this commission again rejected any type of investigation into that and didn't think that disciplining these officers who actually sabotaged these cameras was anything of worth. And again, we want to know what's going on with the drones. We know that the Inspector General has drones. We know that issue has been ignored. And again, we don't want hearings like we did with the body cameras. We want to have hearings on whether or not the community wants these drones.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. So I'm just looking at my phone to say it's 9:43 a.m. By 7:52 a.m. this morning, one another person was murdered by law enforcement in this country. As of today, 961 people have been killed by law enforcement in the United States, which when you do the math, it comes to about every 7 hours and 52 minutes, somebody is being murdered by cops. Los Angeles leads the nation with 19 people murdered by cops. That's the backdrop that we are operating in. I think I just wanted to lay that because as you all sit here in your seats in these halls of power, what is happening is that you are serving at the whims of the mayors. So ultimately, while we are here to call you out, but you become the intermediaries. You become the shock absorbers for the system. You sit there and go through the charade of public comments. But ultimately, I think it is a weakness and the complete failure of leadership on the part of the mayor. The example was very clear that happened at Holman Church about a couple of weeks ago. And while the media, just excels in tabloid journalism and sensationalism, but the underlying fact remains that whatever happens amongst the communities have a way to settle their differences. Communities have a way to come together, because ultimately people do see that where does violence lie? What is the root cause of violence? What are the structural issues that we are looking at? And as much as you want to play that and hide behind that veil of how these divisions are happening, and there's always going to be agents of power within the community that will act as these shock absorbers. But we are sending a very clear message to you that the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition, Black Lives Matter, Los Angeles Community Action Network, Youth Justice Coalition, and several other organizations and people, we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep on coming back and exposing you. And as my colleague Jamie Garcia said, Matt Johnson, you need to really step up, because if either you're reveling your privilege of what is convenient for you, or if you really truly want to step up and meet with the community, then come to a time and a location which is convenient for the community, and we'll be documenting it and sending an email back to Richard T. Fink soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning.
Steve Soboroff, why are you like insistent on trying to get people mad at you? You know, like you like people just berating you and calling you names and things like that. Why would you even want this upon you? Do you think that by being defiant and being arrogant and being hostile towards people that it's going to stop us from coming? It's going to make us, feel defeated? Like, oh, he's just still being defiant. He's still, we're not going to come anymore. It's going to make more people come because people are starting to see what kind of people are running our government. People that don't have respect for other people. People that laugh at people's pain. People that do things like what you're doing right now, ignore people's public comments. You seem to have some kind of chip on your shoulder, even though when we first started coming here, nobody was targeting you. Nobody said anything to you. We were going after Chief Beck because Chief Beck is the one that won't fire officers that kill people and murder people. So why the hell would you want people to be mad at you? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because it's obviously that you have some kind of issue with Black lives, okay? You have a problem with black people coming in here and talking about what the police are doing to them. You have a problem with the community being here. That's what it seems to me, that you have a problem with the community speaking out against certain offenses that they deem important. And you should feel like it's important if you're someone who's supposed to be up here and being the eyes and ears, as the former president of this commission has called this commission, of the community. But you haven't followed that example. You've been trying to kick people out. You and Matt Johnson have been very active in that. You've been trying to silence people's voices with new rules of decorum and things like that. And what you should be doing, if you want these disruptions to stop, is thinking about a way to stop officers from killing people for no reason.
Thank you.
Agustin Sabada, and then Eddie H.
Agustin Sabada, the Chicano Roundtable. We're a civil rights organization, and we deal with Mr. Soboroff. Would you have some respect? I am talking now. Quit talking to the other guy next to you. Oh, shut up.
Can you speak
Shut
on the
up.
microphone?
You're part of the commission. I came here to get some kind of relief from you. Okay, what I'm going to talk about is the insular way that this place is run, and by the police chief who doesn't give a damn. The other day I saw, what's his name, Bratton, up on doing a press conference in New York City. I have never seen Charlie Beck come out and do a press conference and answer questions by the media. You're an insular organization. You keep everything to yourself. You do not let the people know what's going on. What happened up there in Victory and Sepulveda is another case. The same thing, too, when we asked you to give us the information with regard to the names of the people who killed Angie Guzman, and you have not done that, but we heard through our sources that it's a probation officer with a trainee, and those are the two people who killed her, and you have not brought out anything out, and you don't care about it. This guy's over here kissing your ass, Soboroff, about how great you were talking to the president, and at the meantime, at least Bratton has some professionalism, and he does a conference in front of the people, answering the questions by the press and everything, because there's so many things going on. When are you going to come before the people, Mr. Beck? When are you going to come before the people and answer questions? What happened up there in Victory and Sepulveda is an outrage. Somebody threw a bottle through their thing, and they don't know who it was, and they just started shooting. They don't know who they killed. Maybe they would have been like a drive-by shooting that you see in the neighborhoods. And I haven't heard you speak out about that, Mr. Beck. And you need to do that because you're hiding. You guys are like, maybe you're a member of the Ku Klux Klan. We don't know because you don't come out and say anything. Mr. Soboroff, we know who he is. He is a pendejo in our language. And, this is a question that you need to address, Charlie Beck. If not, you should quit because you're not doing your job. Part of your job is to relate to the community, and you're not doing it. And Mr. Johnson, the same thing too. You want to shut down people from speaking, and to hear our opinions. A lot of people stay at home and watch football or do something like that, but yet in the back of their mind, they know they're not getting.
Thank you for your comments.
A second, they know they're not getting the truth out of this commission or this LAPD. You guys are a secret organization that goes around killing people, and then a year or so later, you might let out the information.
My name is Eddie H. from the Los Angeles Community Action Network. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, and so eloquently I may add, that an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his own individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. I stand here today in solidarity with so many organizations, not just in this city, in this state, but throughout this country, that say no more to the senseless violence of the state-sponsored terrorism that continues to plague our communities. I heard you, Mr. Sobral, talk about Charlie Beck meeting with the President of the United States. And at that time, the President of the United States adequately delved into the whole issue of Black Lives Matter and why that mantra is so apropos in a time such as this. For in this country that has never been endearing to our race of people, but in fact has practiced apartheid, South Africa's system of apartheid, we were the template and the model. So this has never been a system that we were part of, and we were thought as being cohabitators. I say today that the dictates of this movement would not be dictated by this commission, would not be dictated by the mayor, would not be dictated by Chief Beck, would not be dictated by the city council, would not be dictated by the board of supervisors. Our rules of engagement are our rules of engagement. And what have we utilized to get people's minds off of their own individualistic concerns? We will continue to do that. We are here. We are not going anywhere. And we say without equivocation that indeed Black Lives Matter. And we say today and tomorrow and the day following that, in the year, the months following that as well, that we will be here, our voices will be heard, and change is going to happen. The revolution is being televised before our very eyes. And if you can't see it, then you need to change your glasses because we're going to be here. Thank you.
There are no other comment cards on this item. We're now on item number 2, report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. A couple things to cover this morning. On the 20th of October, I attended in Washington, D.C., the law enforcement leaders for reducing crime and incarceration, a group of 60-plus chiefs of police and attorney generals, state attorney generals, where we talked about things that can be done on a federal, local, and state level to reduce incarceration and also reduce crime. And one of the messages with those two things are not inconsistent. We shouldn't judge ourselves on number of arrests. We should judge ourselves on the results, which is a reduction of crime. So good beginning discussion. On the following day, I attended a panel with the President of the United States where we talked about not only incarceration levels in the country, but also police use of force and public trust. It was a good discussion. I found the President to be extremely knowledgeable about law enforcement issues on a level that I had not expected. I think that it was a good exchange. I think we both learned from the conversation. And in fact, when he addressed the group of International Association of Chiefs of Police the next week, he incorporated a lot of what the lessons from L.A. have been. I also attended that same week Major City Chiefs Conference in Chicago. I met with the chiefs from the top 75 cities in America. One of the things that struck me was the similarity of our issues. All of us are dealing with violent crime, public trust issues, police use of force issues, very, very similar. I've known this group of chiefs for a number of years, and the conversations that we had were not only heartening in that it tells me that LA is on the right path because many of the things that we are doing to address these issues are being copied nationally, but also the commonality of experience. So that was very good. Yesterday, we announced the arrest of the Western Bandit, a 51-year-old male who's responsible for a crime series that dates back 5 years, 23 robberies, 2 homicides. He was arrested after some really fantastic work by Robbery Homicide Division and Forensic Sciences Division, They were able to put together DNA evidence and ballistic evidence that I'm sure will result in a conviction. I think it's important to note that yesterday the DA filed 25 counts of attempted murder on this suspect and over 50 other individual charges. I wanted to highlight an incident that occurred this week, over the weekend. Metropolitan Division officers in uniform assigned to a crime suppression detail in Rampart area at about 2 in the morning stopped what they believed to be a male gang member who was ended up concealing a firearm from them. He removed a sawed-off rifle from his waistband and engaged the officers, fired one round. The officers were able to take him into custody without using deadly force, without firing their pistols. We're not able to always do this, but I wanted to highlight the fact that it happens and that it is so important to recognize the success of our officers and be thankful for their lives. After discussions with the Commission President and other members of the Commission individually, the Department is going to undertake a end-of-year use of force review, a much more comprehensive use of force review than we have done ever in the past. And I think that today I will start with a little bit of our experience this year to date. This will not be the totality of things that are covered, but this is a beginning so that the Commission can not only see the things we want to talk about, but also have input on what they'd like to see. And I would ask that the Commission make themselves available to my use of force folks so that we can craft a report that is respective and relative to the issues that the Commission wants to address. First of all, for context, I think it's important to recognize Los Angeles, second largest city in America. We are going to have incidents at a level far beyond smaller cities. For public context, so far this year to date, in 2015, Los Angeles police officers have made over 500,000 stops of individuals, answered 750,000 radio calls, have made over 97,000 arrests, and have been involved in about 1,500 use of force incidents, most of them minor incidents. That's a use of force versus arrest ratio of 1.5%, and a use of force versus contact ratio of less than 0.1%. We've been involved in 44 officer-involved shootings so far this year, resulting in 18 fatalities, as has been widely reported. To give that some perspective, over the past 5 years, the high year for fatal OISs and overall OIS occurrences was 2011. So far this year to date, in 2011, there had been 51 OISs, and at the end of the year, there had been 26 fatalities. Our lowest year for fatalities was 2013, and we had 14 fatalities that year. And our lowest year for overall uses of force was last year, 2014, and we had 22 officer-involved shootings that year. We're going to compare use of force demographics to arrest demographics to citizen-reported suspect demographics to overall demographics. We're going to compare where uses of force occur compared to 911 calls, where uses of force occur to where violent crime occurs, and try to put a total picture together that allows the Commission to see the picture of police use of force in Los Angeles and have some comparative data upon which to judge it, and that will be our goal. And in my weekly reports, I will continue to highlight use of force issues, and I will not just report the same statistics every week, but I will try to add some richness to the discussion with other metrics every time I report. Overall crime in the city of Los Angeles, as I always report, I'll be brief because I know I'm going long here. We have a 13% increase in homicide so far year to date, 21% increase in violent crime, and a 12.9% increase in overall Part 1 crime. Total gang crime is up 16.6%. To put that in perspective, last year was our lowest year in decades for gang crime, and if you look at that increase this year, or look at the number this year, we're still 40% below where we were in 2008. So the city has made a lot of progress. I know that the crime numbers are disturbing because they're not as good as they were last year, but I want to put them in some perspective over time so that people can see that this is a spike and not at least yet a trend. Deployment numbers, we have 9,891 sworn personnel on payroll, 2,662 civilian personnel. We have almost 400 reserves, 372 volunteers, 61 chaplains, and 6,265 cadets. And I apologize for the length, but we haven't met for a while, and I thought these things were important to talk about.
Thank you. We look forward to working with you on the analysis and reporting of use of force, along with the Inspector General. And there'll be a lot more to come on that in the coming weeks as well. Do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. We have 10. We have the first 5, the Red Chief Hunt, Prentice Jenkins, Jamie Garcia, Hamid Khan, and Agustin Sabata.
All right. Good morning again. The Red Chief Hunt. I want to talk about the statistics in the crime report. The reason why that crime's up right now and the gang violence is up right now because Eric Garcetti did not provide jobs for the community. That's called community-based policing. Whenever you have a job, you're out of trouble. That's one less person you have to worry about. Due to the lack of leadership from Eric Garcetti, I don't know what that's about, but crime is always going to go up when people don't have jobs. Number 2, I want to talk about the vending ordinance in Los Angeles. A $100 bail receipt for me vending after 15 years, after me being on the boardwalk for 15 years. Number 2, a valid sales permit for my company to be on the boardwalk for 15 years and things like that. I'm still getting arrested. Right after I received the $215,000, I've been arrested almost like 20 times after that. I call that retaliation from the city of Los Angeles. And the real reason here is everybody thought that the ticket was for, or the $215,000 was for wearing the KKK outfit in the obscene language. Let's take that back. The ticket was for, actually, the city of Los Angeles put "fuck white nigger 2" on a ticket. So let's get that clear. This is why they paid out the $215,000. This is a real ticket. This is a real thing, and this is a real situation. This is not a joke. Anytime somebody put racial epithets on a ticket, that is racial profiling, and this is why they paid out the $215,000. This is real. Let's keep it 100. The vendors should not be getting arrested. That's community-based policing. Chief Beck, you said when you came out the mayor's house where none of that bullshit was going to happen. Veragosa put you in based on that. Let's clear this shit up. Let's solve the problem. Let's stop bullshitting, and let's stop the racial profiling.
Show and tell. Prentice Jenkins, activist since 1991, publisher of City Life newsletter. I'd like to acknowledge Black Lives Matter and LA Can. I've been coming in here talking about homosexual cops, homosexual firemen running around chasing my genitals. I want to see if the stereotype is true, and I found this.
52-year-old Norman Valerio appeared in court in Del Air last week on an unrelated case. Valerio is accused of tweeting multiple death threats against Beck on August 25th. One saying he would kill Beck with a 9mm Beretta, then follow Beck's wife and kill their kids. Police arrested Valerio a week later and charged him with making felony criminal threats. He's being held on $50,000 bail. If convicted, Valerio faces up to 3 years in prison.
Look at that. Someone stalking the police chief, stalking his family. Trust me, I take no pleasure in that. I'm glad they arrested that man, Chief. But I'm here to say, why did the chief get special treatment? I've been in here 6 months, telling you, gay cops, gay firemen running around town using fire trucks, city equipment. Just as psychotic as this man. See, what you're dealing with is not hate. You're dealing with something called psychotic love. It's more sinister than hate. This man's going to be sitting in jail jerking off thinking about you, because this is about sex. This ain't about hate. This is about sex. This man's in love with you, and everybody that you love's got to go. And trust me, this man's going to get out in 3 years, and he's going to come back because this man is in love with you. Imagine if this man had a fire uniform on. He had a cop. He was a cop or a fireman. You were over here, and I was the police chief, and you kept coming in here telling me this crazy man's threatening your family. But I could tell you, Mr. Beck, I can't do anything for you. I mean, these are cops and firemen. I can't do anything for you, sir. But I can do something for myself. I got 9,000 freaking bodyguards, and that's how they caught this dude. But I just got a letter saying, well, we've done our investigation, and we didn't find any cops running past your house, blaring their sirens and turning them off when they come by. We didn't find any of that. Internal affairs with your cops. This man's going to get out of jail, and he's going to come after you again. There's only 3 things you can do. Get him help, you can keep him in jail, or you got to hire somebody to kill him, because he will kill your family. I know this man. This man has a badge on. This man has a fire uniform on. This man is in the fire department. His mentality is in the police department. This psychotic is in the fire and police department. Ezell Ford ran into this psychotic. The man that's threatening you, he ran into him, but they had badges on. And they tried to fill Ezell Ford up. He fought back, and they shot him and killed him. That was not a police arrest. That had nothing to do with anything but psychotic, homosexual assault on a young man.
Jamie Garcia, Hamid Khan, Agustin Sabada.
So I just want to stand here in solidarity with the Youth Justice Coalition, with Los Angeles Community Action Network, Black Lives Matters, and the Chicano Roundtable. I just want to repeat the names of Ezell Ford, Charlie Africa, Riddell Jones, Angie Guzman, and the name that we still don't know, who was murdered in Van Nuys. So, and that's not even to mention the 14 other people that were killed this year by LAPD. And I'm just wondering, when are we going to see the state of emergency that we're in? When are we going to acknowledge these lives have been killed? When are we going to acknowledge that it's a very rare time when LAPD doesn't hurt somebody, when they're engaging with them on a regular level, when they're not emotionally and physically harming people? And I find it really surprising that the commission is coming out against Quentin Tarantino. I find it actually really just kind of silly, because again, it's acknowledging that this commission doesn't acknowledge that there is a state of emergency nationally and locally. So as a colleague before said, we're at 960 people that have been killed, and I'm pretty positive that, and that's national statistic, and I'm pretty positive we're going to be close to 1,000 people killed. So by law enforcement, and that, if that doesn't show you that something is deadly wrong, then I don't know why this commission even exists. Oh, and then I was also, right before I came up, because Charlie Beck again mentioned that the officers' lives, and I wanted to just kind of correlate that. And I looked it up real quickly, but there's been 106 police officers killed nationally, as opposed to, again, almost 1,000. So naturally, I just thought about it to myself when I was sitting there, that we're actually being slaughtered, you know, compared to the difficulties that law enforcement claims to be having. So, and then another thing, too, I just wanted to mention, Chief Beck, I really think that it's hard for us to even consider your statistics when continually the LA Times is coming out reporting that you don't even know how to gauge your own crime statistics. So, again, it's really hard for the community to sit here and listen to your statistics and even think that they're accurate.
Thank you.
Hamid Khan, Agustin Sabada, and then the next 5 will be Tut Hayes, Michael Williams, Wayne from LA, Yvonne Michelle Autry, and Melina Abdullah.
Hi, Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. I think it's, and one of the previous brothers made that comment that as far as Soboroff you're concerned, you're completely irrelevant. So it's almost really a joke when you start speaking about it. When violence against communities are glorified, you're probably the first one in getting a ticket, and a director and a producer speaks about violence in society, violence by those in the blue uniforms, violence people who have a license to kill, and all of a sudden you jump into this bandwagon. So, your pathetic nature has been exposed over and over again. But I just want to go back to Charlie Beck over here, who spoke about public trust and police use of force. But again, I don't know if you spoke about and told the president that how LAPD leads the nation in killing people. I don't know if you had the courage to tell the president that how LAPD has amassed this huge architecture of surveillance and infiltration and spying. I don't know if you told the president that how highly militarized LAPD is. I don't know if you told the president that how it's using, that LAPD is leading the nation in using counterterrorism and counterinsurgency tactics of predictive policing and suspicious activity reporting to actively engage in racial profiling. I don't know if you had the spine to tell the president that how constantly that your department sabotaged the federal consent decree. I don't know. I mean, and we can go on and on and on. So I think shamefully just sitting over there and gloating on the accolades where this was an opportunity to speak truth. To speak truth to power as well. But then again, because you are so much in your own power, I don't think you'll have the courage to do that. Because the problem is that, as Jamie Garcia just said, that yes, people dying, it's not good. 106 people, 106 cops have been killed. But when you look at the statistics, only 32, just 32 lives killed by gunfire. You know, and then when you look at the other numbers, you have 41 killed in auto accidents. Your own department, your inspector general has audited that you have said that these are young people. You know, it's this energy is running wild. So if they don't wear seat belts and they end up injuring themselves, what are we supposed to do? So I think this is your charade and your lies and your complete lack of courage needs to be called out, because what is happening is that you are pushing a model which is completely failed. A model that is completely a disease in Los Angeles.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Changed, and I don't think it can happen without completely dismantling it. And we hold these people responsible, but ultimately it's the mayor, and we're going to get to the mayor too.
You know, on your statistics, I think you failed to say what is part of your duty. How many cops that have done things wrong are been disciplined by you? Or what's the discipline part of your job? I think that's your job, isn't it? If somebody does wrong, call a border rights thing for this guy or for that guy, like these two people who killed Angie Guzman, a probation officer and a trainee with a gun. What's wrong, Mr. Beck? How come you're not doing your job? And how come you don't cite that in the statistics? You know, and the rest of you, Johnson, you're the president. Why don't you call him out and ask him, hey, what about these statistics that are affecting our people here? Not that we're doing all these things nationwide and how good we are. We're tough, we're bad. And you go and tell the president that this is what we did, this is what we didn't do. Why don't you really do your job and deal with the issues here in L.A.? I know it's happening all over the country, all this stuff, but why? It's a symptom of the lack of proper work by the PDs, the chiefs all over the country, that they got this power and they're going to use it any way they want, and people are tired of that, and that's why people are fighting back and killing police officers. I mean, if you don't understand that, you're thick in the head, and that doesn't only go for you, but the rest of the commission. The commission just sits here and doesn't say anything. How come any of you in the commission do not ask Charlie Beck how many people he has disciplined for illegal acts that they're doing, like those two guys up there in Sepulveda and Victory? What happened with them? They just started shooting. I mean, is that a normal protocol when something happens, when they break a window? Come on, man, you do your job. You're not really doing your job. You got to come out with it and bring those statistics out. This is what this report was about, statistics, right? You try to overpower us with all these statistics that's going on in the country and everything. What about L.A.? How many trainees that fired the gun and killed somebody are still working for the LAPD? We want to know that for Angie Guzman's sake and the community in the South Central L.A. Please do your job.
Ted Hayes, followed by Michael Williams and Wayne.
When the LA Times repeatedly points out that the LAPD is cooking the books, in other words, their statistics on crime and various other things they're involved in are wrong, I think the chief has an obligation to refute that, point out what the facts are, what the truth is, or accept it as being factual. Now, in significant incidents, it seems that the church says that Reverend Saul has said that the incident at the church has made him even more determined to create a safe space, and that Black Lives Matter will not determine who worships at Holman United Methodist Church. Really? The mayor was at a worshiping ceremony? Was the deputy chief at a worshiping ceremony? You see what that is? It's against the law to disrupt a religious ceremony. But it's not against the law to disrupt anything happening anywhere if it's not a religious ceremony. So the Reverend is lying. It was not a religious ceremony that Mr. Johnson was at or that the mayor was at. So why would the mayor say this? Understand, black people in church are a problem. A white guy goes into a church, kills black people, 9 of them, and the church member says, "We forgive you. We forgive you. We pray for your soul." So with that kind of mindset inside of a church, you have to wonder about church-going Negroes who would accept the murder of their relatives and say, "We forgive you." So I'm going to challenge Reverend Saul on this claim that a religious ceremony was being disrupted. And Garcetti came there to pray for the lives that have been lost.
Michael Williams.
You Matt Johnson, you say you want to work with former Chief Beck. I keep calling him Chief because he's getting fired pretty soon. This is what you guys found regarding Ezell Ford's case. So the L.A. Police Commission rejected Beck's finding, ruling that Wampler use of deadly force violated LAPD policy. Although Wampler may have been fighting for his life, the commission decided that he did not have any reason to stop and detain Ford in the first place. His handling of the encounter, the commission concluded, was so flawed that it led to the fatal confrontation. That's what this commission found. Okay, that's what Smirk and Soberoff found. This is not us. This is what you guys found. That you guys found that his actions caused the death of a young innocent man that was doing nothing wrong. And yet you want to work with a chief that refuses, who has said he refuses to fire those officers. You want to work with him. Why don't you find a chief that will actually discipline officers who are found to have killed people and are breaking policies and ending up murdering young people who are not doing anything wrong? Why don't you do that? Instead of saying you want to work with someone who wants to keep murderers, that you found they were murderers.
Wayne from LA. Yvonne Michelle Autry, and then Milene Abdullah.
Yes, thank you for starting my time early. As a matter of protocol. Heil Soberoff. Okay, so we have to do that first. Well, looks like some of your cops are going against you, Trainwreck Charlie Beck. From 3 to 7 p.m. on the John and Ken Show, 640 KFI, an officer named Parker has appeared on there several times. He was the officer that arrested the actress, the Django Unchained actress, in that famous case where 2 people were having sex in a car, a black lady and a white man. And you know, in Studio City, that's against the law. You're not supposed to have interracial dating at Studio City. That's on the books. And now he's got an ethics commission $10,000 fine pending. Imagine one of your own officers going before the ethics commission on a fine because he broke protocol. So see, you're starting to have a rebellion of your own ranks because there's a lot of cops that know what we know. You're a piece of shit. They know that. They know you're a piece of shit. And so they can't do their jobs anymore. It's not worth the pension. And you have a rebellion on your hands. How many? Could be some of them in here. Could be this lady here. You don't know, but you got a rebellion going, and they want you out. They want you out. You don't even live in the county of Los Angeles, let alone the city, and yet you ship yourself in to rule over us. Isn't that nice? You know why you don't live in the L.A. County? Because when they come to arrest your ass, the L.A. Sheriff won't have jurisdiction. They'll have to intercede with the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. See, we're not stupid. Your own cops are coming for you to get you out of here, and good for them.
So these are just a portion, of course, of the lives that have been taken. I'm sure you've seen that. And notwithstanding, I stand against all crime, whether it's perpetrated in the community, largely under surveillance and by the encouragement of Big Brother. But we're speaking, of course, today regarding police brutality, excessive use of force, racial profiling. And many of these young people were not criminals. That is the greatest evil. Many of them were college bound. So this is the greatest evil. They did not, and the criminals did not get an opportunity to be tried by a jury of their peers. Are we in a police state? Are we under martial law? The police do not have the authority or the jurisdiction to mete out punishment or sentencing. These young people were victims of excessive use of force, and their lives were taken. I'm a mother. Are you parents? Are you listening here? The lives continue to be taken. This happened in Egypt. This happened, it's happened in Brazil. Hitler did this when there was an imminent fear of loss of power. You murdered the young boys, and you rape and subjugate the women to horrible sexual humiliation, harassment, filing SARs. So we know what's happening. So what are you going to do about this again? You know, riots? Do we have to resort to riots? I have a son, and if anybody touched my son, you know, we will know where you live. Do we have to resort to this? Do we have to resort to this? And this is, of course, this item is regarding you, police. I mean, I have respect for you as a human being. Can you respect the lives? Black lives, all lives, children's lives. Are you a father? Can we appeal to you on that level? Imminent loss of power. Repent for your sins, and you won't have to murder innocent children. While you still can, repent for your sins. A change is coming. Killing the young men will not stop it.
Melina Abdullah.
So I listened to Beck's report, and I'm amazed that he continues to cast himself in this department as a model for policing. And it made me ask, what kind of model? Is it a model for police repression? Is it a model for surveillance? Is it a model for police murder? We are now at 19 deaths at the hands of LAPD. That's what you lead on, killing community members, right? And at the town hall that you talked about, Matt Johnson, I challenged you, and I challenged you in the previous police commission meeting, to come out into the fields with the rest of the Negroes, to remember who you come from, to remember who your community is, to stop being a tool of white supremacy. I challenged you on that, and I questioned your role. In response, what you did is you sneered and you minimized our role here. You talked about how when we stood up for the people that we have lost at the hands of police abuse and murder, you said that, you know, those are some of the same people who come here on a weekly basis. Well, why don't you see that as dedication and commitment to uplifting the lives of your people as well as our people? And so I questioned your role, and now I'm beginning to understand what your role is as an entertainment lawyer. You do Hollywood spin. That is what is happening with LAPD, a game of Hollywood spin that's pretending as if this is a community-friendly police department and trying to project that image out into the world when really it's nothing but ravenous murderers. Yeah. You have the power to help change that, and I implore you to do that. 3 weeks ago, Beck was asked to provide reports on what happened with Wampler and Villegas. No report has yet been given. You all have not even spoken the name of the mother of two, Riddell Jones, who was gunned down in August. And we want answers. That is your role, to push for answers. Will you do that? Because if you don't, the voices of your ancestors are going to haunt you especially.
Do we have any further comments?
We have no other comments on this item, sir. We're now on item number 3, presentations. Do we have any presentations this morning?
Yes, we do. We have Employee of the Month. Could I have Officer Phil Evans come forward, please? Phil, please come forward. There he is, all dressed up. Come back here, Phil. I want to talk a little bit about Phil Evans. Phil Evans is a police officer assigned to Commission Investigation Division. He's with been with Commission Investigation Division since 2006. Stand over in the center there, Phil. Don't hide behind me. And he's been with the department approximately 25 years. Phil's a great employee. He epitomizes a person who works in a teamwork environment with his fellow officers and employees in Commission Investigation Division. He's worked the various assignments in Commission Investigation Division. He has worked the Official Police Garage Unit, the Audit Inspection Unit. He also has worked the Noise Unit. And currently he is the lead officer in inspections of all official police garages that are going under contract renewal. One thing about Phil that everyone talks about, and a number of his fellow colleagues are here in the room at work with him in Commission Investigation Division, is he's just a great guy. He does things together. Anything you need, he will help you get done. He is not afraid to roll up his sleeves, take on a task that is not his. He won't say, that's not my job, that's so-and-so's. No, he'll do it. He does a great job for us in Commission Investigation Division and the Police Commission, and it certainly is my pleasure and honor to recognize Phil with the Police Commission Employee of the Month for November of 2015. He's joined today by his lovely wife, Carmen, who came out especially for this recognition. And I will tell you a little secret. I think this is just really slick. Carmen said this is the second time she's seen him in a suit. So that's how important this is to Phil. Phil, thank you for your time and service. And the commissioners have a certificate for you. The President will give that to you. You have a picture there. Chief, get over there. Chief gets in there.
Mr. President, we do have 2 comment cards on this item. Of course. We have Agustin. Our 2 comment cards are Agustin Cebada and Wayne.
It's kind of makes you sick to see all this BS going on here, patting each other in the backs, and not only that. You know, I mean, instead of having the people from the community in here, you have all the police. There's a bunch of them. Raise your hands if you're police in here. Come on. Don't be afraid. I saw you all standing up. You're on this front row. You've taken it all over. Hey, what about us in the community that you're supposed to serve, protect, and to serve? You're not serving us. You're serving yourselves. And the Police Protective League is one of the biggest pushers for this. And one of them threatened a comrade of mine about 3-4 weeks ago when we came here. And you know, you've got to understand that you're serving the public. You're not just serving the police like you have. I think it's like more than half of the crowd here are police. When are you going to have just the regular public here to speak about what's going on? You know, okay, Phil, you know, maybe he's a good guy or everything, but he's in the commission to investigate. How many things that he's found out that are wrong with the commission? How did Soverov been here forever? Why isn't that, Phil? How come you have not investigated that? Soverov has been on this commission for the last 20 years. Is there some kind of hanky-panky going on with him? What about Ms. Figueroa, who's just sitting there, never says a word about what's going on in our community? And she's from Echo Park, where I live, and she never says anything is going on. Okay, why haven't you investigated that, Phil? What is the problem? What is going on here? It's a bunch of buddies together, and you're as my dad used to say, we're asshole buddies. And that's the bad thing about this year, inbreeding. And you don't want to give information to the public. That's why you get all these cops in here. And instead of using that big auditorium I have over here on the corner, that has probably never even been used. Why can't you have a committee meeting where we have enough room for the community to come in like we did at the like we did at Holman, at the Holman Church? A lot of people came from the community. You
First
guys
warning.
Scared shitless, and you too, especially. So
you're finished.
What?
You're done. Your time's
You're
over.
done. You're done.
Your time's
You're done. You got to do something for the community. You're supposed
the next
to
speaker
serve
is
us.
Wayne.
We're supposed to serve you.
So you want to take his time?
Especially you, Sobroff. Why don't you resign? You've been around too long. You look like one of the
next speaker.
Here.
What a lovely presentation. That's the first time you've seen him in a suit. You know, he forgot his hood, though. You should have the hood, you know, when you get these presentations. See, we had a reporter here, and the only thing he waited for was to take the pretty little picture with the light tan black president who's now left the building, and then the honoree, who of course is black, because then tomorrow's paper will be, oh, look at this police commission. Look how fair they are. See how fair and balanced they are. But why do you hold the meeting here and not in the public auditorium? Why do I have to walk all the way down to the block and back with 6 cops in the front? Because you have this meeting in a chilling effect. You have this meeting in a way that is adverse to people coming here. You have the threatening look of all of these officers on all the walls from one side to the other. That's the presentation I see. And that's not what the media reports. The media lapdogs don't report that you have a meeting in an area that constitutes a chilling effect under the First Amendment and the Brown Act. You need to hold this meeting in an area that is accessible and non-threatening to speakers and the public alike. But what you do is that you have to have them walk all the way into the belly of the LAPD beast to get in here with all these rows of cops. Don't tell me that's not done to have a chilling effect. It is. So if you're having martial law, just declare it. Go ahead and declare it, because then we'll just have the fucking Civil War #2. Just declare martial law. Then you give us the authorization to just say, fuck this, and defend our property and our lives.
There are no other comment cards on this item. We're now on item number 4, consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. We do have 2 comment cards on 4A, 1 card on B, 1 card on C, 1 card on D, 1 card on E, 2 cards on F, 1 card on G, and 1 card on H, and 1 card on I.
And 1 card on what?
I.
So no cards on J or K?
Correct.
Move approval of items J and K.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all the items J and K are approved. Let's bring up the you said 1 on item A.
Item A, relative to the donation of partial reimbursement for 1 officer to attend a seminar valued at $200 from the Valley Traffic Advisory Council for the benefit of Valley Traffic Division. And we have Michael Williams and Wayne.
Michael Williams.
He's coming.
Okay.
So, you're paying back $200 to reimburse a officer for going to a council on traffic. I guess that's what you're doing. But I gave you about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe ago. I gave you a something that you could have went to, you know. And you didn't have to pay $200. It didn't have to reimburse you or anything like that. You could just went on your computer and looked up what this commission has done to stop the murdering of innocent civilians by the police department. I still haven't heard any kind of response from you. I take it that just means that you don't care about what the community has to put. You have no care about the community input that comes here to this meeting. You can send people to councils and all this stuff on traffic and everything, but you can't do a simple thing like look up what your own commission that you're president of has done to make this community safer from police. I see a lot of things up here about donations from a bunch of people and all these things, but what is the police commission doing except for just allowing money to be put into or dished out among the department? Is that all you're here for? Because that's not what your intended purpose is for. Your intended purpose is supposed to be the voice of the people to the department. Yet you want to work with a guy that won't listen to you. So how can you? That doesn't make any sense. How can you sit here and constantly be dishing out money or taking in money without any kind of any other substance to this commission? Is that what this commission is really for?
Oh, isn't this nice? A $200 gift from the Valley Traffic Advisory Council. Yes, the Traffic Advisory Council. Well, they do such good work. Who the fuck are they? I never heard of them. And what is this seminar about? What are we going to teach this Valley Traffic Division officer? Because I was over in the Valley yesterday, and I saw all kinds of your Traffic Valley officers sitting around and waiting behind the meters for them to turn red, because they blink green, and the minute they turn red, right over there with the ticket. So is that what you teach? You don't give a couple of minutes for somebody to get back to their car for the meter? No. So what are you teaching your Valley Traffic Division officers? To raise revenue. They're revenue agents. They're not law enforcement officers. They're deadbeat ticket writers. That's what they are. So they can give the money to the general fund, to City Hall across the street, to Herb Wesson Jr. and the City Council, and then to give to you to paper over your pensions. And then we have to pay, and the businesses have to pay, the price for this over-enforcement. Go down Van Nuys Boulevard. For lease, for lease, for lease, for sale, for lease, for lease, for lease. Everything. Vacant, 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 vacant businesses leaving the city because nobody can park. And the reason they can't park is because people won't go there. They know you can't leave your car without coming back with a ticket or getting towed away. That's what your Valley Traffic Division is about. You shouldn't have a gift. But you already went to the seminar. It was October 22nd. So I want one no vote. Which one?
Okay, we have no other comment cards on this item.
Do I have
the item?
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Okay, so item 4A is moved. We have a comment card on 4B.
4B, we have Michael Williams. And we have Michael Williams for 4C, 4D, 4E, 4F, 4G, and 4H.
Yeah, I should get 20 minutes. Yeah, you're going to spend $3,000 for recreation for candidates, so that they can have some recreation time and activities to do, like their little kids in daycare. I don't understand, like $3,000 to go to recreation, yet there's nothing going towards the families of people that were killed this year by the police. Why isn't not this on the agenda? You guys can get donations from all these different organizations for recreation, for food and activities. You know, the last time I did activities, I was like 4. You know, I don't get that. I don't get why you can't spend $3,000 to reimburse the families that have been killed by your police force because of misconduct, because your police force is not obeying the policies that you set up yourselves. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You guys are here to be community eyes and ears. You're not supposed to be the protectors of racists, the protectors of the police, the protectors of white supremacy in this country. That's not your jobs. It's not why this commission was built. Yet you continually just support people that are trying to destroy our community. Where our communities are being destroyed by over-policing, by harassment, by things like that. And here you have $3,000 for activities for cadets. That's people in training. She should be allocating some money for them to actually be trained and how to be an officer, how to be polite to people, how to speak to people, how not to kill people. You know, that's what you should be spending $3,000 on instead of activities. I don't even know what that means. Recreational activities. What is that?
Mr. Williams, you can give your comment on item 4C now.
I'm waiting for my time. Okay. Again, another monetary donation for candidates and recreational use. I don't understand it. This one is $4,000. This is goes up. This is like a couple of $1,000s more. Okay, all this money being allocated for cadets and training. Like, who's getting these donations? You have time to go out and find these people that donate for recreational activities, but you don't have time to go and research about what you guys have done to help this community and what you guys could do to help this community. One of the first things you can do is fire this guy right here, because he's not trying to do anything positive for anybody except for his boys in blue. He said it. He's come out on video and said it. Yet you want to work with him. You want to donate money to cadets, find money for cadets to have activities, and you don't want to spend money or allocate time into figuring out how you could stop people from getting killed by your own police force. Steve Soboroff said that he thinks that the rate that we're going in right now is pretty decent. He said that. He said that we're doing okay. Leading the country in murders, okay, that's doing all right. We're doing just okay. That says what you believe that the police should do. If you think that murdering people, being the lead murderers of citizens in this country is just A-okay, that just tells you what you think the police should be doing.
Do you have a comment on item 4E as well?
4D, yes.
I'm sorry, 4D.
4D. This is 5. Okay, so you guys couldn't scrounge it up. But this is from the L.A. Dodgers, and I looked up something interesting about Steve Soboroff. Before Donald Sterling was removed, you were at a Clippers game. And you got a donation to the cadets from Rihanna. And I was I wanted to ask you about that. Just a question. Were you good friends with Donald Sterling?
No, Rihanna.
Oh, okay, Rihanna. You were good friends with Rihanna. Okay, all right. Did he give you? Did Donald Sterling donate those tickets, or did you buy them? You guys good? I think you guys might have been good friends. Have you been over his house? Were you there when he made racist tirades?
Mr. Williams, this item is about the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about sports. L.A. Clippers, okay? I'm talking about the L.A. Clippers that you attended a game and you were out there.
If you want to talk about the Dodgers, we can.
You were out there. Well, I'm wondering too. I'm looking at the owner of the Dodgers, because if you might be friends, if you're friends with him, if you're getting money from them, I don't know about their organization either. You guys have, you guys go to get money scrounged up, and it's kind of cheap too because it's like $540. Couldn't get that much. You got more for Rihanna actually than you did from the LA Dodgers organization. He's buddies. I guess they're friends. I guess it'll be him and Rihanna. Okay. But you guys, again, it's for candidates, and not for actually teaching them to be better police, but it's for recreational activities. Recreational activities. Again, what is this? What are you guys running? A daycare for candidates?
We're now in 4E. 4E?
Okay. Okay, so this one is a little bit more. This is $2,000 from the Los Angeles Philharmonic Association. All these places I'm really like thinking about, like what are they about? Because I think it's Steve. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else will speak up, but I think it's Steve who's getting all these donations done. You get $2,000 again for pay for recreational activities, and food purchases. Like candidates can't buy their own food. Like you don't pay candidates.
These aren't for candidates. These are for cadets.
I'm sorry, cadets.
They're kids. They're kids.
Area cadet program. Okay, so you guys are running a daycare. Again, I feel like this is it should be allocated for other things than just spending money. $2,000 donated to the cadets. I mean, you guys could have other programs. You guys could have other things going on in this department to keep people better. And if you spent the money on other programs, then it would benefit the other communities so that you wouldn't have to be spending $2,000 on a cadet program, because there wouldn't be a need for you guys to be out here. There would be more community-based programs that are teaching kids other things than to be abusive cops and grow up to be part of this system, to be actually knowledgeable citizens in this community. I just think it's $2,088 for a daycare. Oh, I'm sorry, $888 for a daycare, and we have our communities out here just struggling to come up with programs and other things that will benefit our community.
Can I have a motion on item 4B, 4C, 4D, and 4E?
Move approval of 4B, C, D, and E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those 4 items move. And on item 4F, do we have any comment cards?
We have 2 comment cards. We have Michael Williams and Wayne.
Okay, so this one is a donation for LED lighting system. What is that for? For $998 $2,998 for LED light system? I'm asking a question. I really want to know, what is this LED light system? Is this like Christmas lights for the department so you could put them up? Why is this $2,000 for LED lighting system? And you guys haven't allocated, you guys haven't had a fund. You haven't set up no system, nothing for people that you've killed. That this department has killed by their lack of training, their lack of following procedure, and their hatred and harassment of its community. Why hasn't that been put on this agenda? Why hasn't that been allocated to people? If your police would stop harassing and follow the protocols that you have in place, maybe we wouldn't have so many killings. But you guys want to spend money on LED lighting system? I'm really like perplexed, because I feel like this is just for Christmas lights. Like, you guys spend $2,000 on Christmas decorations. Is it $3,000? $2, yeah, $2 short, pretty much. This is what I don't understand this. Get donations. How about Steve? Next time you see Rihanna, How about you get a fund, right? And you allocate money to the families of the victims of those who were killed by the police. How about you go talk to Rihanna about that?
Next speaker is Wayne.
Yes, the lovely Valley Traffic Advisory Council. It's $2,998. So I think we should make it $3,000 even. So I'll donate $2 so that I can make it $3,000 even. So what is this? LED lighting systems. Is that because the police and everybody need to see people more clearly at night? You have to see more clearly. You need more lights so you can make things brighter, so you can see the people out there. And who are the people that the police are looking for with all these brighter lights? White people? Brown people? Getting warmer. No, it's black people. That's what you need the lights for, so you can find out where they are. So you need brighter lights so you can differentiate them from the darkness, so that, like over there in Van Nuys, when you shoot the next guy, make sure it's not Latino or white, because if you shoot a Latino, it's over, Beck. You might as well stay in San Bernardino County. So keep it to the blacks, you know. So this Valley Traffic Division is donating this exactly for what? LED. How many LED lights are there? They're all made in China with slave labor, which slave owner is appropriate. We got slave owners here in this commission, so you might as well buy stuff made by slave labor. And then, where are they going to be? Where's the streets they're going to be? I want to drive over to the valley, and I want to see where these lights are. I would like to see where they are. Are they multicolored? Are they Christmas lights? Do they blink? I'd like to see where these lights are. Where's the intersection for these lights? Or is there no lighting system, and it's just a scam just to give $3,000 a payoff for Clipper tickets? Go Clippers.
There are no other comment cards on this item.
Do I have a...
Move approval of the item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Matter moves. Item 4G, do we have any comment cards?
We have Michael Williams for 4G and 4H.
We'll take these together. You can give both your comments on these two items. You have 4 minutes. You can have 4 minutes.
Can we get 4 minutes then? I'm still saying 2. Okay. So G and H, right? Both of these, are these both for the cadets? Pop-up tents valued at $116. But why I'm looking at all these agenda items is because I don't see any agenda item on here, at least that I'm seeing, that has anything to do with the community and what the community has been asking you guys to do. There've been a lot of questions about Riddell Jones, about her situation. What about the investigation going into Riddell Jones? There's been a lot of questions about Angie Guzman, who was killed. Still no response. No, Inspector General hasn't said anything about it. Hasn't talked about it. All these things that we're asking for, there's no hearings on. I know you guys do that in closed session. But we don't have any hearings about Rumpler and Villegas' firing because you guys, again, as I said, you guys found that they violated protocol and killed someone. Why is that nothing here? All I'm seeing is allocating money to the cadet program, which I know it's Steve Soboroff's baby. So is this just Steve's agenda? Is this what Steve wants to be on the agenda, so we're going to put it on? Is that what this commission is about? I know I've made jokes, but I'm really serious. Like, why are these, this is like half the page, okay? This is like 2 pages of just this. And not one thing about what these people who come here every week from the community that you try to downplay, You try to make them seem like they're just radicals who are not a part of this community, who are not speaking the voices of people who are in this community, because you don't want to see us all get out here. I'm telling you right now. Because if we all get out here, it's going to be not just for coming up to talk about public comment. Okay? It's going to be to shut this place down. And that's why we're here, because you should be wanting to talk to these people. You should be wanting to talk to everyone here sitting here, because these are the people that actually care about their community. They care enough to come here at 9 o'clock, okay, in the morning on a Tuesday, to come sit up here and talk to you guys when Steve Soboroff is over here talking to somebody else, being disrespectful while I'm talking, while I'm giving public comment. Who would do that if they didn't really care about trying to change something? Who in their right minds? I take the train from Pasadena to come down here every Tuesday. And I come down here to make sure that you guys hear the voices of the community, of people who can't be here because it's 9 o'clock in the morning. And when we tell you, hey, look, we want to address you. We want to come to thing. Here's where we can meet. You guys say it's inconvenient. I can't make it at that time. It seems like you don't want the people to come here and talk about what their issues is. It's very clear by the way you treat us, the way you act, the way your body language, your mannerisms. Everything here tells me that you don't care about what the public has to say or what they have to contribute to this police commission. And that's all you guys are here for. You're not here to allocate money to the cadet program. You're here to listen to the people and take what the people have to say and put it into action. But you got a guy on the commission that won't do that. But you refuse to fire him, which you have the power to do.
Do I have a motion on items
4G and H, I think?
H and I?
4G and H.
4G and H.
Move approval of items 4G and 4H.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Those two items move.
And for item 4I, we have the Red Chief Hunt and Wayne.
Okay.
Good morning again, the Red Chief Hunt. I think what the people are really telling you guys are that in lieu of this meeting, that there's some problems that need to be solved and everybody needs to listen. I mean, this is what I get. Now, I'm going to go into talking about training officers valued at $95,000 from the Valley Traffic Advisory Council for, or is it $95? Okay, $95. I think any type of training for these officers are really good. Here's what I want to see pushing more for. If you're going to train an officer and you're going to spend some time in training, let's not spend pennies. Let's train them correctly so that they won't violate the people's civil rights and actually whatever they do, whether it's Valley Traffic Division or anything like that. But here again, and I'm going to reiterate this, it's time that the commission, and the people that have public comment get in a forum and discuss their problems. That's the more logical way to do it, and come up with solutions and answers. This meeting is not for solution and answers. This is a meeting that you just come and complain about. Like I said, next year I want to see that, and I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank Matt Johnson for not putting nobody out, because the rules of decorum is not really up, and you can't really enforce something not unless the public knows. Thank you guys again, and I'll be speaking again.
They're illiterate, so buying them materials to read, that's not going to help them. You have to do it in Braille, or you have to read it to them very slowly. The first rule of traffic safety is pedestrians have the right of way. You got to do it slow like that. So maybe Soboroff can do that after the Clipper game. So I'm very surprised here. I put two $1 bills down here, and somebody here hasn't already stolen it off the commission. It's still on the floor there. I'm very surprised, but I'll be waiting to see which one of the 5 commissioners goes down there and grabs the $2. So we have worthlessness on this entire agenda. Worthlessness. Meanwhile, you're putting Jasmine Canick up on trial for attempting to incite a riot. Ha 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 ha! Like she's going to incite a riot. No, I'm sorry. And how about the arrest of Melina Abdul in Pasadena? Having a cup of coffee, attempting to incite a riot. See, that's the new buzzword.
They're attempting, the Black Lives Matter people are attempting to incite riot.
No, they're not attempting to incite riot. They're trying to point out that we're ran and governed by assholes who are attempting to incite a riot. So the DA needs to indict Charlie Beck and the police commission for attempting to incite a riot. So DA, indict the police chief and the police commission and find Jasmine Kanik and Melina Abdullah innocent.
There are no other comment cards on this item.
Approval of item 4I.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that item moves.
Thank you. We're now on item number 5, regular agenda items. There are 5 comment cards on 5A, 2 on 5B, 1 on 5C, 1 on 5D, and 3 on 5E. We'll begin with verbal presentation and update from the commanding officer and Community Police Advisory Board representative regarding community-initiated problem-solving, crime strategies, and other programs and goals within the Olympic area.
Morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, Board of Police
Thanks for your
Commissioners.
patience.
Thank you. So this morning, I think it's still morning, we're going to talk a little bit about Olympic area. I'm Captain Vito Palazzolo, the commanding officer of Olympic area. My partner who's unable to be here today is Captain David Storaker. He's in charge of Olympic Patrol Division. With me today are my 2 CPAP co-chairs, Mr. Bill Reichert, sitting to my left, and the second CPAP co-chair, Mr. Leonardo Managa, sitting to my left, and also the Olympic Booster Association president, Mr. Chang Lee. These 3 individuals are our leaders in our community, and they are supporters of all the initiatives that we have undertaken at our Olympic Police Station in the last year, which I'll talk a little bit more of in just a little bit. So just to give you a little information on Olympic area, it's 6.2 square miles, located in the mid-city area of Los Angeles. It serves approximately 250,000 residents, and it's a community that is diverse both ethnically and culturally. If Los Angeles is a diverse city, I think that Olympic area is probably the most diverse place in Los Angeles, if not the world. We have a community that represents many different nationalities, ethnicities, and cultures. The 2 biggest being the Central American community and the Korean American community. But altogether, there are roughly 7 cultural hubs within the division, small division that it is. Once again, this is really one of the highlights of the division. It is the fabric that makes the city strong, and it is the fabric that makes us so great in this little corner of the city. Because there are so many different people that live in an Olympic of different ethnic backgrounds and nationalities, we are also hosts to 14 consulate offices, the most of any other area in Los Angeles. And we are serviced by 4 city council districts. As you can see in the slide in front of you, those are some of the neighborhoods that are part of our small piece of real estate, which if you know the Central City area or the Olympic area, it's a vertical part of the city, very highly densely populated. A lot of apartment buildings, more and more high rises that are being built in the area. So our area is divided into 10 basic cars. They are serviced by 10 senior lead officers, 9 at the moment. We have 1 opening. They do a really great job connecting with the community and getting the work done that we need to do within the community. So we have some great community partners. Some of the things that our CPAB and our OBA, the Booster Association, has been involved with, as you can see in the slide in front of you, our National Night Out, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Citizen Police Academies, we host, currently we're hosting the LGBTQ Police Academy at Olympic Station. We have community cleanups almost on a monthly basis. The community also helps us with lunches and events for officers and the cadets. Shoes from Santa. This is a program that was started in the Olympic area, which basically was able to obtain thousands of pairs, literally thousands of pairs of shoes from different vendors and retailers. And those shoes were handed out at Christmas time, and we plan on doing it again this year to needy families, so mostly kids. So this is a very special event started in the Olympic area. This year we had one of the most successful final torch runs in cooperation with CD10, Herb Weston's office. It was a very special event that both the CPAB and OBA and other community organizations helped put together. We have various parades. One of the biggest festivals in the city is the Korean Festival, which just concluded in the month of October. The Central American Festival, also during the month of September and October, a number of Central American festivities, and an Olympic golf tournament that we're having later on this month. We also have a very healthy volunteer program, or a series of volunteer programs at Olympic, which, as I talked about, the Olympic Booster Association, CPAB, Olympic Neighborhood Watch, Crime Watch Team, CERT, volunteer office workers that come in actually from the community and help us. And one of the main things that the office workers help us to do is provide translation services, both in Spanish and Korean, to our community members. They'll come in and answer the phones for us. If we need a translator, they're there to help us translate. Cadets, junior cadets, and Jeopardy as well. So we've undertaken a number of initiatives to keep us very busy at Olympic this year. And you see them there by acronym, and I'll talk a little bit more about them and what they represent, and I'll be as quickly as I can on this. So one of the major initiatives that we've taken this year has been to really do a different, to look at the homeless problem in Los Angeles or in our area a little bit differently, and to do an outreach program. We came up with a project. It's called Homeless Outreach Partnership Endeavor Hope, which basically what it is this. We brought together a coalition of partners, both at the city level, at the county level, and at the state level, and formed this coalition to help us address the homeless problem rather than doing the typical, moving the homeless from one corner to another or one division to another or pushing them around. We really want to do something different where we provide services and connect the homeless population in our area with those service providers. One way that we did that, we realized very quickly, was we didn't have a relationship built with the homeless population or with those service providers. We assigned a police officer to act sort of almost akin to a senior lead officer for the homeless. And this police officer, in conjunction with our neighborhood prosecutor who helped us on this, build these relationships with the homeless and with the service providers. I remember the first day we brought the service providers in for a meeting. We made it very clear to them we were not interested in having meetings and meetings and meetings. We wanted action. And we built this team that's been incredible. Now, on a weekly basis, the service providers, and a couple of them that deserve mention, that have really helped us quite a bit, are LASA, Department of Mental Health, Step Up on Second, Homeless Cell Care, and also Department of Recreation and Parks, because a lot of our homeless population reside in our recreation and parks. So we undertook this project starting in mid-July, and we've seen some very tremendous results. LASA and other health workers go out with our officer once a week, and that this is after during the midweek we made a lot of contacts, and then on one day of the week we go back to those contacts that we made, and we try to really offer the services that are most needed. So we really got to know our homeless population. We've been very successful. There's been over in the short period of time. We've accounted, we took a census of our homeless. We accounted about 300 homeless individuals living in our area. We made over 160 contacts in that time. Something that I was told when I first started this that was not going to happen was placing anybody. We made over 20 placements, some into permanent housing. So I want to show you next a little clip of an individual that is a success story, and this individual volunteered to tell us about her story, and so we can share it.
I was out in the street for 5 years, and 5 long years, and finally it's come to the point where I've always heard that you can't do it on your own, whether it's with drugs or, getting out of being homeless. and all this, and it's true. You can't do it on your own. I've been one that I've done everything on my own, and I tried and I tried. And finally, never did I imagine that a police officer would come to help me to better myself. Because we've always said that police officers don't care, and they're just doing their job. It's not true. They do care, and they're humans like us, you know, and they don't want to see us out there in the street the way we are. They just don't have the time to get to know us at that level. But they do want to help us, and they've helped me. They've helped me, and I'm going to become the person that I used to be once again. A successful, clean, and with the life again. And back with my family. And I really, really have to thank, you know, the police department, because let me tell you, if it wasn't for them, me and my son, I don't think we'd be alive today. And I'm getting my life back. That's it.
That's great.
So, you know, one of the major things that we learned in this process has been, and she mentioned it on there, is getting to know our homeless population at a different level and having the right person assigned. I'm fortunate to have an officer that is dedicated, compassionate, and has embraced this wholeheartedly, and has gotten to know the individuals that he makes contact with on their level, and it's not, you know, each one of these placements has not been a one-time. Hey, do you need services, and the services occur. It's being patient, multiple contacts, you know, from starting with hi, what's your name, till the next time maybe a cup of coffee, to the, you know, fifth, sixth, seventh contact. That's when we start talking about services. And one of the things that we learned is that the service providers that were out there are learning from us. We're learning together, because there's been a lot of misunderstanding how to deal with this situation. And it's funny that when the service providers are telling us that they're learning from us on how to deal with the situation. So we've been very successful on this, and we hope to continue. So the other one of the other initiatives has been CARE, which is basically...
So just on this, were you guys the driving force in creating these partnerships, or was there another entity that was looping everyone together? I mean, the homelessness problem is obviously such a complex problem, and it cuts across so many different agencies, both city, county, the integrating with the nonprofit organizations like you have. I mean, that's really no one entity can do it on its own. So how did all these organizations get together to start driving this solution?
Yes. So when this started, we're dealing with Part 1 crime, and we wanted to know if there was an overlay where our homeless population was to where our Part 1 crime was occurring. So the first thing that we did is we wanted to know where our homeless population lived, where the encampments were. So our senior lead officers at that time basically went out and seeing where the homeless population was living, how it related to our Part 1 crime, and then from there it went to getting to know our homeless population, where they come from, who they are, what issues. Most of them are chemically dependent or mental illness, and how we could best address that. And the typical strategy has been, and we tried this as well, is pushing them from one area to another, one corner to another, but they come back in various forms, you know, whether smaller groups, bigger groups, different location. So we wanted to just think in a broader term, and at that time was the same time that the City Council was looking at new ordinances to address the problem. So we really didn't have, and we did a lot of research. That's where our neighborhood prosecutor came in. A lot of research about, you know, what ordinances could be enforced, what could we enforce, not enforce. And we came to the conclusion that we needed to do something different. So we called together a meeting. We were the driving force. We called together a meeting. The 4 council districts in our area were there. Assemblyman Santiago's office was there. Senator De Leon's office was there. Departmental Health County officials were there. And LASA was there. We had some for-profit organizations that deal with the homeless, trying to work our way through who was who and what was doing what. And we quickly found out that there wasn't an organized, at least in the Olympic area, there was not an organized effort to address the problem. It was very disjointed, to be honest with you. So we made it very clear that we wanted action, not another meeting. And I was blessed to have an officer at the time who was a loan to senior lead office who embraced this and told me, he wanted to take the lead on this. And our neighborhood prosecutor was supporting him with the research. So they went literally to meetings after meetings and forced him, meetings after meetings at the county level. And that was also at the same time that LASA was getting funding, additional funding. So our timing was perfect on this. And they were able to knock on doors, with the presence of the uniform and the presence of this is what we want to do. And we're here to help you. Just give us some resources. These organizations agreed to work with us and are now working with us on a regular basis, and we're learning from each other. And I think, we're addressing the problem as best as we can, or better than it's been addressed. Is it having the follow-up question on this that I have always is it having effect on a Part 1 crime? The answer to that is that we're not seeing that yet, but we hope to in the future. I think it's, we're doing it mostly for the right reasons rather than a reduction in crime, because we know we can push the homeless from one place to another, but it's not going to solve it for the city as a whole.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
So the next initiative is community awareness and responsible engagement. This is a group of our community that basically started from our CPAB to become more engaged and help with various events within the community. And then we have CERT, the Olympic Community Emergency Response Team. This is, once again, a group of citizens that got together with the support of our CPAB and OBA, went through a training that was put on by our senior lead officers to educate people and get people ready for major disaster, natural disasters. The Olympic Booster Association helped with the funding of buying this group some equipment in case of an emergency disaster. We have a short radio system that we can use to communicate with other parts of the state or the country, even around the world, should there be a major emergency or major natural disaster in the city. So, and basically what this training was about was teaching the citizens how to help others when the time arrives, because we know we're going to have a major event, major earthquake at some point in time. It may not be in our lifetime, but we got to be ready for it. And then we have our Olympic Crime Watch team. Once again, this is a group of volunteers that go out 2 nights a week. They're assigned with a senior lead officer or other officer, and they use their own vehicles. They have a shirt that says Crime Watch Team, and we target areas that we're having crime problems at, and they go out and spend thousands of hours basically being an extra set of eyes for us. If they see something that is suspicious, they have walkie-talkies. They'll radio our officer, and we send in patrol officers or other officers that are assigned in the area to take care of the problem. This week, we're in the process of launching our own Olympic app. They'll both be an Apple operating system as well as the Droid operating system. This will be an app for all community members to basically link to Olympic Community Police Station and the department, but also provide officers. There'll be a specific section for officers where they can download it on their phone, and at the beginning of each watch, they could see what crime trends there are, what their mission for their basic car area is, and any crime bulletins that are out there of specific persons that we're looking for. They'll be able to look at that through their smart device. National Night Out this year, which was once again organized by CPAB and with the assistance of the Olympic Booster Association, was an extreme success. I was told that it was the biggest in the city this year, and by far the biggest in Olympic area. We had over 1,000 people attending, and we also had Assemblymember Santiago take part, as well as all 4 of the council members came to our National Night Out. We had a symbolic National Night Out. We had actually 2 marches. And this was symbolic of bringing the Korean American community and the Latino community together. We had one march that started in the Byzantine Latino quarter of Pico Union, and one march starting at Seoul Park in Koreatown. And those two marches marched one south and one north, and they came together in front of Olympic Station to form one community. And at the end, we had over 1,000 people, which was an incredible event, something that we're all really very proud of. And just recently, we hosted the Asian Pacific Islander Forum, which was an opportunity for the Asian Pacific Islander community to come into Olympic area and discuss issues that are important to that community as well as the department. A presentation was given by Sergeant Dan Gomez on the body-worn cameras, something that is very much of interest to the community and to officers, and it was a great evening had by all.
Can I just interject? We also do in addition to the National Night Out, we have our night outs sporadically throughout the year where we go to blighted neighborhoods. We had one just 2 weeks ago with Leo's help near his work on Pico and Normandy, and we bring a lot of community members. CBOs come in. We give hot chocolate and things out, and we do that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so our National Night Out is not just one night, but it's a continuum, and we bring our command post out there, and we make sure it's a night. And the last one actually we did was 2 weeks ago in one of the neighborhoods. So these are some of the community partners that we work with literally on a daily basis.
On your night out, how many officers will be participating?
It depending on how big it is. The last one we had, I was out there. We had 2 senior lead officers and 2 gang officers, and we invited the community to come out, and somebody brought some sweets and things of that sort.
It's a great opportunity for engagement between the residents and the police officers.
Yes, sir. And recently what we've been doing in these night outs is we identify communities where we've had an uptick in crime, and we try to have that community, and we get the cadets to hand out community flyers, community alerts in those areas. So these are some of the community partners that we work with on nearly a daily basis. UDLA, Unification of Disabled Americans, KYCC. KYCC is a great partner, and we're working collaboration with them in a program called the Responsible Retailer Program to curb underage drinking, and working with liquor stores to ensure that they're not selling alcohol without carding individuals or people that look too young. And we're working cooperation with them, and our Vice unit supports them in getting them statistics and information that would be helpful to them, especially who are violators have been in the past, and they work with those establishments to reduce that. Korean American Federation of Los Angeles, El Salvador Community Corridor, Los Angeles, Confederación Centroamérica, Unidad de Comunidades de El Salvador, Worcester Center Business Improvement District, and Byzantine Latino Quarter Business Improvement District. Those are our main partners. Our crime snapshot, I wish I could tell you that crime was down in Olympic area. Unfortunately, like many parts of the city, it is not, but we are trending in the right direction in the last few weeks. Our violent crime and our property crime is at about the same levels for an overall Part 1 crime increase of 17.1%. And we are available for questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for making good things happen and what you're doing. And what I think is so interesting is you talk about when there's a spike in crime in an area, you don't run from that. You throw your community-based policing resources at that instead of away from it. So I congratulate you. Thanks for all your time and your energy in a positive way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have.
Do you have any comments on this item?
We have 6 comment cards. We have Prentice Jenkins, Michael Williams, Yvonne Michelle Autry, Ted Hayes, Mariella Sabat, and Red Chief.
Prentice Jenkins, active since 1991, published a City Life newsletter. I want to let the chief know that I'm actually one of the activists who doesn't want to see him go. I just want to see him do his job. You're not going to get off that easy, Chief. You got a job to do, and that's to arrest those two freaking cops that killed Ezell Ford, Wampler and Villegas. My colleagues back there said it takes all kind, and I'm one of the other kind. They're on the other side. I want to know if the Valley, when they're doing their problem solving and crime strategies, do they run into this right here, and how do they handle it? Try this one. Wow, it's the first time this happened.
Police officer has been arrested in Huntington. A Los Angeles police officer has been arrested in Huntington Beach. He's accused of exposing himself to several women. An eyewitness reporter Eileen Fair is live in Huntington Beach, where police are still looking for
Trying
more
to show that to
victims.
us. I can't see it. If you're showing it to the.
That's LAPD. He whipped it out, showed it to children.
And Ellen, police say that the suspect is.
With an LAPD officer under arrest, accused of an unthinkable crime, molesting two children.
This is off topic from our presentation.
In question is a 6-year veteran of the force and a father himself.
It's off topic.
I just wanted to let you know that when I talk about you have,
and I had more than one neighbor approach me and tell me that they're absolutely blown away by these allegations. But of course, nobody in this neighborhood really knew the suspect that well, and that is because he only bought this house about 5 weeks ago.
I want to make a comment. Okay.
The next speaker, Michael Williams. This is an item 5A.
Next.
He's coming. Can you please shut that off? It's.
Go outside.
Step outside.
If what has been presented is true about the community-based things that they're doing there in Olympic, I commend them. But I've been to these commission meetings a fair amount of time now, and every time there is a presentation by a police department or any kind of policing agency, it's always about the things that they're doing to stop crime or in the community, or what their participation in community events and things like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be that have community events. But I never hear about anything of what they're doing inside their own departments to stop police corruption, police harassment, things like shootings, officer-involved shootings, what they're doing to stop those. What are they doing to better reinforce the rules of protocol and policies that the LAPD has put forth? I never hear those presentations on those kind of things, and it just goes back to what I've said before, is that it seems like this is just this format is not for the community but for the police. And what the community should be hearing is things of what they're trying to do. It should be hearing about stuff that they're doing with the community, but it should be hearing about stuff they're doing for the community and things that they're doing within themselves to protect the community from things like what he just pointed out, what we've been out here talking about every single week, how in this past year we're in double digits of people who have gotten killed this year. You know, I know Soboroff thinks that's a good thing, that we're doing okay, we're on pace, we're on track, but something should be done.
Yvonne Michelle Autry, followed by Ted Hayes.
Some of the means by which members of the community are being targeted, tortured, experimented on, harassed. I'd like to submit them for your observation, and this is relevant.
Could you speak up just a little bit more, please?
Yeah, and this is relevant, so if I might submit these, officer, thank you very much. I only have one copy. I said I wrote some articles regarding and explaining and detailing just how members of the community are being targeted, harassed, tortured, and experimented on. This is not in Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, or Libya. This is happening throughout Los Angeles at large. My colleague or my friend here, Mr. Prentice, has identified us as targeted individuals. Of course, we were led to believe that we are alone in being targeted with and not exclusive to such means as surveillance, of course, illegal entries of our rooms. Let's see, I would call it a remote viewing, witchcraft, paranormal types of devices, pendulums, laser beams, microwaves. Again, targeted individuals are members of the community who are spiritual, who are community activists. And I'm speaking against this and exposing also sexual harassment, germ warfare, and we're labeled as terrorists. Terrorists have no civil rights in America. We're innocent people, okay, and we're organizing at this point, okay? We're not to be used by the CIA as sex slaves and then labeled crazy, cracked head, or prostitutes. And there are an increasing number of us to be used as mind control, mass manipulation, and population control test experiments for your one world government, Homeland Security, and one world police officers in training. Thank you. And I will be presenting more information regarding this. Target individuals.
14 consulates, not to be confused with an embassy, but this is an excellent opportunity to allow us to understand what kind of immunity these dignitaries have. To what level of crime can they commit and be exempt from any prosecution, persecution, or even arrest? So 14 consulates, that's astounding. Also, this is the first police division I've seen that has an outreach program relative to homelessness. LASA had an advisory board, and at that time I served on it for 3 years, and they got rid of the advisory board and the police officer who served on it. But I think there's one thing you might take note of, is that homeless advocates are pointing out that refugee status might be appropriate for homeless people. That means something like a way to have them fed regularly, have them housed regularly, a tent or whatever, cardboard condo maybe, and taken care of as a refugee. Other nations have done this on the scale of thousands, tens of thousands of people, and I think that should be looked into. I think the police department may have some information, ideas they can develop at least, on homelessness. So I also want to know whether or not this Olympic division is within a promise zone. Promise zones are very important. They provide money and various other things for any of the difficulties that neighborhoods might have. I believe Koreatown itself is within a promise zone, but I'm not certain about the Olympic area. Thank you.
Thank you. The final two speakers on this item are Mariela Seba and Red Chief.
I ask that you first notice your deep habits of profiling when you see me and other community members speaking, so that you may truly hear us. We relate our loved ones' stories to reroute how we continue to respect life and death with dignity, community, ceremony, and love, to bring balance to challenge and uproot the setup at the root causes of our deaths, the ills passed on in us, thrown up between us, white supremacy sold to us to confuse us, illusions of freedom set up to beat us, to kill us, batons, nooses, cop quotas to cuff us in chains, physical and invisible, psychological and principled, lawful and videotaped, mouths to cover, to silence our breaths till we're dead. And so here we are, alive, present, to voice on behalf of our dead, here present too, whose names we recite, whose names are being recited outside, to call upon their energy, their memory. Take seats next to you, sit beside us, guide us as we put an end to this sick setup you choose to partake in, protecting and serving genocide, legalized homicide. Step down and step aside. Meet us outside, because your whole department is haunted from every arrest, incarceration, beating, and murder. The only way to undo this is to shut it down, all of it. Meet us outside, where there are 40 community members, the majority youth, who were denied access to come inside and be here with us. It was called an unlawful procession. Honoring our dead is not an unlawful procession. How disgusting, how disrespectful. So on their behalf, I present this for the fourth time. Youth Justice Coalition is trying to submit this Public Records Act to investigate the homicides by LAPD. And they're outside setting up an altar to honor our dead. They weren't allowed to come inside. Youth, when you all talk about community engagement and you lock them outside, white cops telling youth of color they can't come inside, that they're not protesting correctly. So let them in.
Next speaker, please. If you continue to, you need to stop disrupting the meeting. You need to stop disrupting the meeting. You're welcome to submit a comment card. You're welcome to submit a comment card.
A lot of empty seats. Why don't you let the youth in? This is public space. This is public space. Why don't you let the youth in?
This is the last warning. The last warning.
They were told they needed a permit to march, and we do not ask for permission from the same people who murder our people. We do not need a permit to march.
If you're not seated right now, you're going to be asked to leave. Okay, the 5 of you that are standing need to leave. The 5 of you that are standing need to leave. Sergeant at Arms, please escort them out.
We're standing.
Mr. President, let's take a recess.
We're going to take a recess.
Escort them out.
We're going to take a recess and clear the room, please.
Let them in. 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 Let them.
You can't sit here sober up. You're on the wrong side, sober up.
That's a donation.
See who steals it.
I don't know. Let's go on in property.
You mean what? My $200,000 claim against the DWP? You want to talk about that?
Absolutely.
I got $200,000 claim against the DWP. I want to
Why don't we throw that asshole out? All he does is...
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Calling the meeting back to order, please.
Okay. The final speaker on this item, Red Chief.
Okay, thank you, guys. I want to thank you guys for handling this in a professional manner. Here's what I'm telling you guys. This is why we need the signs up. It's protocol. It's professional. Please put the signs of decorum up. It's called the Brown Act. Number two, I want to talk about the community development of the Police Advisory Board and what they go out and do to the community. I think this ought to be reframed to the federal government. In 1980 or about 1985, the federal government started a lot of this, making people homeless and bringing a lot of this trash into the streets and things like that. It's about time now that we clean up not just some locations, but every location. It needs to be subsidized by federal dollars, not just a few police officers. We need to go back in and do a cleanup and do federal substance and get the $100 million to go for housing and the mentally ill and the people that can be affordable. And they don't need to be arrested anymore. They need to be put in their own location where they can have their own cubicle square. They don't need to be jailed. It costs too much money for jail to house and keep on arresting these guys and things like that. But I want to see next year some kind of determination and some kind of commitment to actually working with the community and the homelessness people at a local level and a federal level. So let's reframe this and let's go and get federal dollars and bring in professionals to handle it in a professional manner. Thank you, guys. Please put the signs up of decorum, because legally you guys can't enforce anything without the signs being up. Thank you, Michael Hunt, the Red Chief Hunt.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now on 5B, Department's verbal report and discussion relevant to the review of firearm qualification schedules for full-time and reserve police officers.
Chief. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Deputy Chief Bill Murphy. I'm the Commanding Officer of Police Sciences and Training Bureau. Darnell, do you want to introduce yourself?
And I'm Darnell Davenport. I'm the officer in charge of the Reserve and Youth Education Section.
We have a brief update. When we were here about 5 weeks or so ago, we gave a presentation. It was about reserves, but the issue became qualification for standards for both reserves and regular officers. And we just want to take you through a quick PowerPoint. Hopefully it'll answer your questions. If not, I'll be ready for it. Okay. In the Inspector General report, they basically recommended that 2 qualifications be done for officers that are over 30 years. And at that time, I believe they were we were speaking on reserve officers, but some commissioners had brought up, what about regular officers? We actually talked to the IACP. We pulled those concepts and issue paper and also the model policy. We talked in depth with them, reviewed that. Specifically, what we did want is, did they have statistics on how many people or how many agencies would follow those model policies? And unfortunately, they didn't have that, because I was hoping that they would be able to say, 20%, 50%, these agencies follow it, but they don't have that level. What they did say also is that, remember that the IACP is international. In this country, many of the organizations are law enforcement agencies they represent are agencies with maybe 20 or less police officers. So when we're comparing this, it's kind of like you got to compare apples to apples. So what we did is we went ahead and created our own little survey, and we called several of the major police departments in the country. I'll have a couple different slides. One will be a national comparison. Then we'll do a local comparison, which is really California comparison. And on this, if you look at it, I'll say LAPD, Dallas, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York. And on the left-hand column, it'll say sworn lieutenants and below and security officers. If you go down that column there, it'll say captains and above, lieutenants and above. The first one is 20 and less. The second one on the left is 20 to 29, up to 30. And the third one is more than 30 years of service. And again, reserve police officers follow the exact same rules as our sworn regular officers. So in this comparison, when you go across the board, you can see that we compare very, very favorably with the rest of the nation in firearms qualification. We qualify 1 shotgun, 4 qualifications, and 1 force option simulator, compared to like Dallas or Chicago or Philadelphia. New York has 2 qualifications. Now let me clarify so that you understand completely what we believe a qualification is. A qualification to us is a test. You got to get up there. We're going to run it. For us, it's 300 points. There's 2 targets. They spin, they turn. You're shooting at 4 different stages during it. You have to shoot the right sequences. We're testing your ability to transition in the magazines and obviously your skill set. If you shot a perfect score for us, it would be 300, 150 per target. During the daytime, you need to have 110 on each target, or you fail that. At nighttime, it's 90 because it's much more difficult at night with lower level and so on to pass. There are consequences to failing. If you fail, you have to get up there again and try again. If you fail 3 times, we flag you, and you have to go to remedial training. So a qualification is a test. And when I get into local law enforcement, everybody does firearms training days. I don't want to confuse a qualification with a firearms training day. We direct that every entity, the 21 police stations, Metro, and pretty much everybody have to go through one firearms training day a year. And in that training day, they have to shoot a minimum of 100 rounds, and usually, depends how they set it up, 10 to 20 shotgun rounds on it. But that's not a qual, that's training. So that's the importance in pointing that out. All right, now on a local comparison, if you look down there, you'd see that we compare very favorably. The sheriffs are 4 qualifications across the board. If you go right down that column, about 2.5, 3 years ago, the sheriffs actually used to do about 2. They knew that we were doing 4 up to 20 years, and they increased theirs to 4. Now, many of these agencies, like Long Beach, they mandate 2 firearms training days. So, and they keep that as part of their perishable skills type training. They want to make sure that the officers are firing a lot of rounds. But again, if you look at it, we look very, very good locally, which is California law enforcement, as far as qualifications. Wanted to put this in perspective and give you some statistics on officer-involved shootings versus tenure. How many times are on the job? So if you look at this graph up here, there were 378 shootings over 2010 to 2015, almost 6 years of data. You know, the vast majority of our officers have between 0 to 9 years. That is common because they come out of the academy. You tend to do your first somewhere between 5 to 15 years in patrol. And so they would be the ones out answering radio calls. That's Officer of Operations in a great number. 10 to 19, it goes down to 111. If you look over to the far right, 30 or more years of service, we have 0 officer-involved shootings at that.
So this is an LAPD chart?
This is our statistics. We pulled it right out of use of force
so I guess
review division.
One question I have about this, Chief Murphy, is the more senior, on average, I'm guessing, the more senior an officer is, the less likely he or she is to be on patrol.
Yes.
So it's not clear really what this demonstrates. I mean, it demonstrates that there are fewer officer-involved shootings with officers with tenure, but there's no way to know how to compare it to anything.
Unless it was broken down by hour.
Well, I think the next slide, if I can go to the next slide, okay. I might be able to answer some of that.
Thank you.
You know, we would recommend maintaining the current qualification schedule. If you look at the justification, the department is satisfied that its more tenure officers possess the necessary skills and proficiency in firearms manipulations and use. As I stated the last time, by the time you get to 30 years, you're into well over 100 qualifications that you had to have done in your career. So we're very confident in their skill sets, in their ability to manipulate the weapon and be able to handle with their experience that they have a situation if they ever got into an officer-involved one. Now, the stats also show, if you look at number 2, is that they just don't, as tenure increases, they don't get into officer-involved shootings, and again, at 30 years and plus, there is none.
If you go back to the previous slide, if you look at the 20 to 29,
okay,
I'm trying to understand how many, in comparison for that group to the 09 group, how many of the employees in the department with 20 to 29 years are actually on patrol that's going to produce this 16. and compare that with the number for the 0 to 9. That's what I'm trying to understand is whether...
Yeah, we would have to, on that one, would have to break down each one of them. I mean, we can do that. I'd have to come back again and get at that level.
Let me go one step further, just tell you what my concern is, and I trust your judgment on it. For the group between 20 and 29 and 30 and more, a much lower percentage of that group are on patrol. But a large number of that group are doing, or a larger number of that group are doing administrative work. They're armed, but they are much less likely to be actually using the weapon. But as I understand the policy treats those two groups of people the same. If I'm a 30-year veteran and I'm on patrol, the policy treats me the same as if I'm a 30-year veteran and I'm sitting at a desk. And that's where my question comes from. Does that make sense, or does it make sense based on the kind of work that the officer's doing that there be some differential? That's where I'm going. I'm not suggesting it is wrong. That's where that question comes from.
No, and I understand you're trying to differentiate between a patrol officer and administrative, and I'm assuming that you believe that administrative would be less likely, and maybe, therefore, if you are in patrol at 30 or more years, you shoot more. Is that kind of your thought process?
I'm assuming that, but it's hard to know that without...
But I don't think the statistics, whether you're in patrol or not, I don't think that they bear out that you'd get in officer-involved shootings at that tenure. And I believe, I'm confident in the skills that we taught them over the years, that one call a year, which is pretty much... It matches the national average, and again, it matches pretty much California averages.
So I'm not so concerned about the officers that are not on patrol. Is that level of that you have in the policy appropriate for those who are on patrol at that level of tenure?
I believe it is. I do.
And
the only thing I would add is that officers that are assigned to special units such as Metropolitan Division or SWAT or Special Investigations, they have a different qualification schedule. So many of our tenured officers have those kind of assignments, and they qualify much more regularly than the vast majority.
Thank you. I didn't realize that. One more question.
Regardless of tenure.
Thank you. We started with the reserves, and I'd like to go back to that for a second, and it's related to the same question I was just asking you. So if we have an officer who has 25 years of service, and who's a full-time officer on patrol, you have a standard for that officer, and you feel good that that's appropriate. If we have a reserve who's been a reserve for 25 years, doing patrol maybe once or twice a month, the same question. Does it make sense to you to have the same standard in the policy for the reserves, or should, in fact, it be a little bit stricter for them, given the likelihood of the less amount of time that they're on patrol and the less familiar with what's happening they're going to be?
I believe it should be the same, absolutely 100%, because they would be tested at the same level as the regular officers. Up to 20 years, it would have been 4 times with a handgun, once with a shotgun, once with FOS. When they get to the 20 to 25, because your scenario was a 25, they would still have to do 2 more times per year with a handgun and once in a shotgun. So that's a lot of qualifications.
I'm certainly not suggesting they do less. My question is, for someone who's not a full-time officer, would it make sense for the department to test them more frequently?
No, I believe that the levels that we test are actually exceed the national averages and actually exceed the vast majority of California. Only the sheriff's is comparable.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I personally, I would be more comfortable with 2 qualifications when I look at. That's what New York has. That's what San Francisco has. It's half of what the sheriff's department has. I am just of the view generally that our department should exceed everybody else in all of these areas.
Well,
training, qualifications.
We would, Commissioner, if you look at the longevity. Remember, let me go back to that slide. In New York, up to your 20-year mark, we're calling a lot more than New York or Chicago or anybody else. So and if you were to count them, it would be way, way more calls, more times we're putting them in front of.
I just believe that over time, still skills degrade. I think that's just a reality.
They do.
If we could, frankly, track it more towards officers on patrol versus administrative, I would be totally comfortable with that, because I think the likelihood of an officer that works in this building every day versus someone that's on patrol every day you're talking about two different things. But if we can't do that, then I personally feel that we should have two qualifications at a minimum, no matter how long your tenure is.
Okay, we can go back to the statistics, and I can break it down to exactly what assignments they're in.
We can consider that. I'll remind the commission that this is a meet and confer issue. It's a union issue. This is something that might be worth discussing in a future contract, but probably not something I would want to call out and open the bargaining process on.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
We do have 6 comment cards on this item. We have Michael Williams. We have Yvonne Michelle Autry. We have Wayne, Tud Hayes, and Prentice. Wayne.
The first 2 speakers, I think, were brutally removed from this meeting using excessive force. So now we have qualifications for firearms. What the hell do you need this for? What do you need this for? How hard is it to shoot a gun? You just put the bullets in the damn thing and you pull the trigger. That's it. What is this pussification of worrying about a lieutenant, whether a lieutenant's trained or a captain's trained? It's a fucking captain. It's a lieutenant. They know how to shoot a gun. They don't have to be pussified and monitored at every quarter of the year, 4 times a year. They know how to shoot a gun. They don't have to go and pussy it. Look at your chart, like 9 incidences for the lieutenant and higher level. I mean, come on. The ones that you have to watch with guns are the ones out there shooting the fucking peasants on the streets. Those are the ones you have to watch. It's not the higher brass. They all carry a gun, but they never use it. So you should make this in the lieutenant and captain level optional. Make it optional. Then you don't have to worry about it. You can use those resources and those monitorings for the lower level in the first 5 years of service. Because in the first 5 years of service, it's not shooting that's the problem. It's handling the pressure of the confrontation that's the problem. So, like, take a recent traffic stop I had when the guy gets off his motorcycle and tells me politely, "Get the fuck out of the car!" And he's got his hand on the sidearm. That's what you need to control.
And I believe Yvonne Michelle Autry is now here.
Yes, I was watching a video called Illuminati 2016, which, among other things, of course, talked about this New World Order, One World Police, and within the next few years, how this One World government has planned the reduction of our world population by 5 to 6 billion. So I know that the extermination, of course, of black men, the subjugation, rape, abuse, subjugation of black women as sex slaves by the CIA, shots given to women, male hormone shots.
The agenda item is a firearms qualification, so if you could stay on topic, I'd appreciate
relative
it.
to firearm. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, it's not a firearm, but it's a new age weapon. So I'm not going to violate. I'm going to make sure that I'm speaking relative to this agenda item. again, with the extermination of our people, when I say our people, black people, people of color, people of conscience, again, this video gave credence to that. As well, for your consideration, if you could review MK Ultra, which not only breached the firearm or the use of the firearm as a weapon, but also New Age weaponry. So their firearms, as well as the New Age technology that many have been experiencing, not only to reduce the population, but to subjugate those who still think for ourselves, who are spiritual, believe in God, who are still alive, can walk upright, attractive black women that threaten the white female, the black man, and his threat to the white male, any Christian or spiritual person who threatens those who are anti-Christian, anti-Christ, or people that are atheists. Again, we object to this abuse and subjugation even under this one world government, homeland security, kind of New Age technology, and these cadets are being trained in this New Age technology. And we object to it, and it must stop. This is America. And you have the nerve to bring human rights violations against people in other countries.
Thank you for your comments.
Why don't you bring your people under some type of investigation? Your people. And the police.
Time is up.
And the CIA and the FBI. Because I'm sick of it.
The next speaker is Ted Hayes.
Well said. I don't own a firearm. Every time I tell people that, they're shocked. Apparently, I look like someone who would own a firearm. Really. I'm shocked every time someone says that. Team Fake knows what I'm talking about. When you're training your officers, folks, do you train them?
Investigators trying to solve a murder they suspect involves a rookie LAPD officer scored a major break today. The car belonging to Henry Solis has been found. He's a person of interest in the deadly shooting of a man in Pomona Friday night.
Yeah.
CBS 2's
Now, when you train these officers, you shoot straight because Henry Solis shot straight. He murdered Solomon Rodriguez. Just walked out of the bar. Solomon Rodriguez walked out of the bar. Henry Solis said, you know what? He's dying today. Didn't know him. Didn't have a fight with him. LAPD officer said, he's dying today. So you teach them to shoot straight, but do you deal with their mental stability? I mean, this guy was psycho. He just went out and shot a man to death. Hey, remember Johnny Cash's song, I shot a man in Texas just to watch him die? Henry Solis actually did that. He brought Johnny Cash's song to life. He actually shot a man just to watch him die. He did not know him. Followed him out of the bar. Pow, bam, blasted him to death because he was mentally ill. I've been talking about cops who were mentally ill for 7 months. Firemen who were mentally ill for 7 months. You teaching mentally ill people how to shoot. You're teaching pervert cops. I just showed them. Here they are. I got proof they're pervert cops. I just showed you. This cop molesting two children, 10-year-olds. They caught this cop on the downstroke. On the downstroke of a 10-year-old girl. So stop teaching psychos how to shoot. Deal with their mental instability first.
And the final speaker on this item, Ted Hayes.
Two things. If anything can go wrong, it will. Police Chief Daryl Gates said there's no such thing as a less than lethal or a non-lethal weapon in the hands of an LAPD officer. That includes a flashbang, beanbags, tasers, and pepper sprays. People have been killed by all of these less than lethal instruments. What I'd like to know is whether the taser itself is considered to be a firearm. As you don't know, there was a trial held here in L.A. because a officer up north thought his handgun was a taser. What is the training to differentiate the taser from the actual gun when officers are trained? Do they have to be certain they've got the taser in their hand rather than the gun? Because that's happened on a couple of occasions that, oh, I thought my taser was my whatever. So in Leimert Park, 3 different types of projectiles were fired on May Day, and a woman lost her eye because one of the projectiles hit her there. So there's no accuracy, and there's no testing for qualification of accuracy when it comes to firing those kinds of crowd-controlled projectiles. But nevertheless, they're lethal, and at least they took out an eye of a woman who was in Leimert Park on May Day. MacArthur Park on May Day. So we're not all that concerned about the accuracy of firearms, but whether or not they use any kind of instrument that's less than lethal is used properly, because they also inflict death on human beings.
There are no other comment cards on this item. Okay. We're now in 5C, Department and Inspector General's verbal update report relevant to the progress in developing guidelines to be utilized in the process of procurement of supplies, goods, and equipment by the department.
Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Good afternoon. R.F. Alikhan, Director of the Office of Constitutional Policing and Policy, joined by Deputy Chief Bill Murphy, Police Sciences and Training Bureau.
Alex Bustamante, and I have my staff with me, both Jim Willis, Assistant Inspector General, and also Special Investigator Dave Barroway.
Good afternoon.
We can be, as you may recall, Mr. President, we appeared a few weeks ago on the Inspector General's report regarding procurement practices. While we did have some disagreements, we did agree on the general thrust of the recommendations that were in that report. There were specific provisions that we wanted to have adjusted so they accurately reflected the way the department operated. My staff, Chief Murphy's staff, met several times with the Inspector General's office and believe we've come to make those adjustments that were necessary. That include one of the recommendations, which was to ensure that Policies and Procedures Division would be the central clearinghouse for the testing and evaluation of products, but make the exception, as has been the practice with the department, that specialized equipment, specialized procurement processes, including requests for proposals, would be for Information Technology Division, Motor Transport, and Scientific Investigations Division would remain in those particular divisions. We also worked in references to the relevant ethics codes and ethics ordinances in the department manual, which I should say is not really a physical manual anymore. It's an online site that would have inclusion in it, the summary of the Code of Ethics that are promulgated by the Ethics Commission, as well as links to the specific ordinances that apply. And then also with the Product Evaluation Manual, which is the manual that's used for what the guidelines are in conducting a product testing and evaluation, we would incorporate some additional provisions of the Ethics Code. And that process had been ongoing. We were on hold pending the release of the report, and we plan to get that out and done very quickly. On the training side, Chief Murphy can speak to that some more, but he has also been working with the Inspector General's office as well as the other relevant divisions to increase the training, as we mentioned before, for Form 700 filers and also on the acquisition and purchase process.
Yeah, we've been working with the Ethics Commission, and actually they are going to support us on doing a lot of face-to-face training that we talked about the last time. Just quickly to recap what's going to happen on the training, everybody that is a Form 700 filer has to go ahead and do 2 hours of training. I believe you may be actually in that group, so you'll have to do this by December 15th.
Received that email.
Email. If we don't fix the way the thing works, it's going to be December 15th of next year because it's
we don't control that, but I'll pass that. I'll pass that word over there to them. But everybody's got to do that, and they have to do it every 2 years. So that was part of this process, too. We asked them to do a follow-up. All 700 filers, we're going to get the list. I believe you may have the number. It's like 260 or something like that.
We have a designated liaison who keeps track of all the Form 700 filers and informs them to make sure that they've met their filing requirements. And in addition, as Commissioner Soboroff mentioned, the Ethics Commission has a new online training, which is the email that you received.
And we're going to bring in all of those people, and we're going to do a face-to-face PowerPoint presentation that will be given by the Ethics Commission. Their staff is going to deliver this. In addition, I'm also going to do a training day at Firearms and Tactics. Now, not all of the people assigned to Firearms and Tactics section are Form 700, but I'm going to expose every one of them to this training. It will be the PowerPoint. Again, the Ethics Commission will deliver that training. And lastly, we're going to build it into command development. We do talk about these issues. We're going to have them come in and give the presentation as part of our issue in dealing with ethics. So that will be the game plan for training.
And one additional procedure we put in place that's already in effect is that when Policies and Procedures Division gets a request to do a testing and evaluation, they are sending a packet of information to those individuals outlining what the ethics rules are, requiring them to sign an acknowledgement of what those are, and then also the product evaluation manual and the guidance on what can and can't be done.
And Commissioner, from the IG's perspective, our teams actually work very well together. I think we work through some difficult issues and try to figure out a way to actually deliver on the recommendations, but do it in a way that made sense for the department, in a way that could become part of the DNA of that. And Mr. Alakhan's team and my team, I think, sifted through some issues, and I think this is a big step forward in tightening up the procedures, and I think we're going to continue to work together. I think it was a very fruitful interaction.
Fantastic. Do you guys have anything to add?
President Johnson, in addition to working with Director Alakhan's staff, and he availed everybody to us and picked up the phone whenever we needed it. It was done in 30 days. At the chief's suggestion and your direction, we met with General Services, and the department was with us, and then we met with the city attorney's office. And those are fruitful, and it's going to help Director Alakhan and his shop move down the road.
I'm pleased with where we are. I'm just curious if there's a timing of when we're likely to see this again, 90 days, just so we can get a follow-up to make sure, to see, so we can understand what's happened after this.
At least speaking for the responsibilities of the PPD, within 90 days we should have the product evaluation manual updated. The other aspects of it in terms of the posting of the ethics, those types of things should certainly be done well before then. We already have the checklist and other issues in place, and I'd have to defer to Chief Murphy on the training aspect.
Yeah, I think obviously everybody who has to do that 2 hours of training would have been within that 90-day window, so that's not a problem. I believe we can do, I'm not sure if I can do all of that 260 people, but it will significant progress.
Yeah, I would appreciate a report back in 90 days on the progress.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much. It's great to see you guys were able to work together so quickly to come to a great result here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have.
Do we have comment cards on that?
We have three, sir. We have Prentice Jenkins, the Red Chief Hunt, and Wayne.
Prentice Jenkins, activist since 1991, City Life newsletter. I'd like to acknowledge LA Can and Stop LAPD Spying, Black Lives Matter. And I was hoping you'd let those kids in, but apparently you're not going to let them in again. That says something about adults who won't let kids in. The kids are the future, but maybe they're the future activists. That's why you won't let them in. We're talking about guidelines in terms of guidelines to be utilized to process procurement of supplies, goods, and equipment. What do you do about homosexual cops using police helicopters, flying police helicopters, to stalk straight men? Do you take those? That's.
This is.
I know it's about
way off.
What?
This is way off topic.
No. It says guidelines. It says report relevant to the progress of developing guidelines to be utilized in processing procurement of supplies, goods, and equipment by the department. And I'm asking you, do you have guidelines when it comes to homosexual cops flying over straight men's houses because they can't control their perverted sexual urges. I just showed you there are cops that can't control.
It has nothing to do with
yes, it
procuring
does.
supplies,
they can't.
goods, or equipment.
They can't control their sexual urges. What do you do with the equipment? I mean, do you take this equipment from them? Do you put them up on charges? It's like me flying around. If I was a cop, I could fly around and stalk that woman right there all day. You wouldn't do anything about it. I'm an LAPD officer in a helicopter. I could stalk her all day if I wanted to, right? You wouldn't take the equipment from me because you have no guidelines for that. Brought it back, didn't I? Thank you, sir.
Who's next?
I believe it's, oh, excuse me one moment. Is it the Red Chief? Followed by Wayne.
Okay. Guidelines for better policing done by the Inspector General's office. Guidelines is always good. I just want to make sure that they're legal. A lot of the ordinances that we do in 99% of the city council and guidelines that the city produces are unconstitutional. To the Inspector General's office, make sure it's constitutional and legal, that what you're doing is above water, and keep up the good work. And that's probably the best progress, utilizing, supplies and goods for the department. Let's just make sure it's above water and that we have somebody overseeing it other than LAPD. Thank you, the Red Chief Hunt.
Thank you.
Yes, the City Ethics Commission. It's a political pawn. You're using the City Ethics Commission to impose a $10,000 fine against one of your own officers, Officer Parker. It was on the John and Ken show. They talked about it 6:40 a.m., 3 to 7. They told us all about that. The Form 700 is an ethics filing. Well, you had all kinds of people fill out Form 700s, and they just get around. Look at Herb Wesson Jr. He fills one out. Look at the biggest gangster on the West Coast. He fills it out. Doesn't stop his criminal conduct. Get rid of the Form 700. You don't need it. If you want to do business with the city, and I was in the Public Works meeting yesterday, they had an outreach about how to do RFPs. I mentioned that you need three things. First, a private investigator, because you got to dig up the dirt on the people you're going to be presenting the contract to. Not use it, but just have it ready on your phone. The second is which campaign to donate to, because you got to donate to the right campaigns or you don't get the contract. And then the third thing, thugs. You got to have thugs available, because this is a gangster-run city. It's a mafia-run city. It's a corrupt organization-run city. It's a pay-to-play city. And nobody's stopping it. So this joke, this Ethics Commission joke, is being used as a vicious tactic against a whistleblowing officer by the name of Parker. And that charge is coming up. This man cannot afford a $10,000 fine. Stop using the Ethics Commission as a retaliatory tool against whistleblowers, because that's the latest strategy you're using now. Now you're using these commissions as whistleblower retaliation vehicles.
Thank you. We're now on 5D, Department's Report dated October 14, 2015, relative to the Project Management and Quality Assurance for Computer-Aided Dispatch and Related Systems Agreement.
Good morning. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, I think.
So I don't know if we need a full report. I just had two, I think, quick questions. One is if you could give us some background on Gardner and why you think they're the right company to do this work for us. And then I was also curious as to, because I see this as benefiting both the LAPD and LAFD, and I was wondering how it was being paid for.
Sure. Maggie Goodrich, CIO for LAPD. About a year and a half ago or so, I was asked by the mayor's office to take a look at whether or not our existing dispatch system that's used in our communications center could meet the needs of the fire department. At that time, we actually worked with Motorola, the vendor that made our computer-aided dispatch system here for the police department, to see if it would meet the needs of the fire department. And we determined that because we are actually on an older version of the Motorola CAD, that it would not meet the needs of the fire department at that time. We then sort of went back to the drawing board and decided that while we pursue upgrading the LAPD's CAD to the latest version of the Motorola software, at the same time we would do another analysis to determine whether or not the fire department could come on to that upgraded version. I've asked Gartner specifically to do this because I wanted a vendor that doesn't actually sell or produce a CAD product to do the analysis. I didn't want to go to a company that sells or produces a CAD who obviously has a vested interest in their CAD being a good fit. And so Gartner has a number of staff with expertise in both police and fire dispatch. They're often actually brought in by cities when their dispatch implementations are not going well, and they come in and get things back on track. And so I thought rather than wait for issues to arise and then bring them in, let's start with them. So that's why Gartner was selected specifically. And then in terms of funding, this is not coming from the LAPD general budget. This is Prop M funding that Prop M was a bond measure from a number of years ago, actually to fund dispatch-related projects, and that funding can be used for both police and fire. So there was funding set aside by the mayor's office for that purpose.
Fantastic. Any other questions from the commissioners? Do we have any comments on this item?
We have one comment card. We have Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
The only thing I would add is that Maggie's been acting as a fire CIO for quite an amount of time now. So this is a master plan.
We appreciate your extra service for the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to speak relative to this item. But you know that the Los Angeles budget of the state is allocating more money, of course, for prison and jails than the school system. And I think that this is kind of evidence of that, because the students can learn from experience in watching you and your demeanor, the way that you respond to the community. Again, more money is being allocated for the proliferation of prisons and jails rather than reinvested into the school system, public school especially. But relative to this item, about 6 or 7 years ago, I was sexually harassed, stalked. My peace was violated. I was I was a victim of battery perpetrated by a white female who was my neighbor. This woman was a crack addict, white female, prostitute. She attempted suicide, which was a violation of that Section 8 leasing. She was very loud, unruly. If I had perpetrated that as a black woman, I would probably by this time be beaten. I would probably be incarcerated, or I would have definitely been evicted. I called the police on this woman over 20 times, and one Latina officer told me to move, and another black female officer told me to move. I was not in violation. I was in perfect standing. Okay, God is good. Finally, God said, just pray. That's why I pray for you people, too, because I'm going to tell you what happened to this woman. God said, pray for her. I did. God said, forgive her, and I did. They evicted her because she started to attack every other person. They wouldn't give me as a black woman a restraining order, but they gave a white female a restraining order because she was attacking her. They evicted her, and a few months later, she dropped dead. I don't know why. I'm not a witch. I'm a Christian. So what I'm telling you is that on one occasion, when I called the police, the dispatch had dispatched the police to my apartment, stating that she called the police on me. So I didn't know just what problem happened.
Thank you. Your time is up.
But maybe you could make sure that all dispatch is correct at all times. And
time is up.
I think they should remove you. You're probably, what are you, like a Klansman or something?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now on item number 5.
Did you say 5E?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Some time ago, I made a request that all the yellow tape placed at a crime scene be collected from the lamppost, from the fence, from the benches, wherever it might be utilized to close off a crime scene. That still isn't done. So some communities are littered with yellow tape flapping in the breeze. Since you have a contract to have crime scenes cleaned up, clean them up even down to the yellow tape. Now, the yellow tape is rather interesting because it has two languages printed on it. One's in English, it says, police line, do not cross. And the other's in Spanish. It says, police line, please don't cross. Please? In English, there are declaratory sentence, interrogatory sentences, and sentences that demand. And do not cross is a demand. Please do not cross is a request. Why do the Spanish speakers get a request not to cross the police line? And us English speakers are told, don't you dare do it, so to speak. But I appreciate the fact that I made a comment some time ago that a councilman's office had a murder, homicide committed right in the doorway, and the blood was still on the sidewalk. And fortunately, I believe that after I made that comment, some member of the council saw fit to have that remedied and cleaned up. That's a very important thing, that these homicide clean scenes with candles, flowers, photographs, all those things after a certain period of honoring the deceased has taken place, these things be taken down. I did notice that particular aspect in your contract. Thank you.
This is not going to be long. The Red Chief Hunt. Just make the tapes all the same. Let's get to public comment and get out of here for lunch. Thank you, guys.
Wayne?
Yes, a crime scene. Well, across the street at City Hall, that's the largest crime scene in L.A. Should yellow tape that whole block over there. That is a crime scene. It's a 24/7 crime scene. The 15 council members are criminals, and they are inside a crime scene. So after today, take as much of that yellow tape and circle the whole block around City Hall, and don't let anybody in and don't let anybody out of there until the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the L.A. County prosecutors go in there, seize everything in that building, and tell us things that I want to know. First, why is the city sitting on $7.2 billion of cash and losing 0.5% a month on it? Yet they say they're bankrupt. How come there's a 4% rate hike at DWP when they promised us there would be no rate hikes until at least December or early January? Because it's a crime scene. You need the cleaners to go over there and start cleaning it up. Take out Herb Weston Jr., throw him out of here, clean him up, clean up the other 14 council members. And then we have our mayor who goes into a black church and he gets attacked by the Black Lives Matter. What the hell you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? Then you can use the yellow tape that's remaining and put it around this building, because this building is a crime scene. Because you don't allow children, young people to come in here when there's empty seats and sit at a public meeting under the Brown Act. You violate the law. You're the police department and you violate your own law. So that's where you need the cleaners. Start cleaning it up. Public comment.
There are no other cards on this item, sir.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this?
Item?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We're now on item number 6, public comment period. We have 18 cards. I'm going to call all the names, and please stand.
18,
but half
cards.
are not here, sir.
Given that there's 18 public speakers, we're going to have to limit each one to 1 minute.
Okay.
Oh, well,
I'm going to call the names, so please stand if you're here.
We will call the names, and if we'll see how many people are actually here.
Red Chief Hunt, Prentice Jenkins, Kai Utsumi, David Sanchez, Eddie H., Jacqueline Richardson, Ted Hayes, Patricia Serembet, Michael Williams, Yvonne Michelle Autry, Wayne, John Ramirez, Michael, Jamie Garcia, Mariela Saba, Hamid Khan, General Jeff, and Prentice Jenkins. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
All right, we'll keep it at 2 minutes.
11. Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for conducting a positive meeting. I got to thank you guys for shooting the guy with beanbags at the bank. That was pretty good for LAPD. All is not bad. I want to talk about the vending ordinance. Please don't arrest nobody or take nobody else's carts with the vending ordinance. Matt Johnson, I do have paperwork for you to look at and see if you can solve the problem with LAPD. You don't arrest a 9th Circuit winner for vending again and again and again 20 times after getting sued for $200,000. I cost the city over $3 million in attorney's fees. That's a fact. The guys only won $1, but the attorney's fees cost the city $3 million, which don't make any sense. It don't make any sense to arrest people for working. Black Lives Matter. Matt Johnson, you get a pass on this one. And I got to say, you never go to a church and have a public meeting and don't expect Black Matters to show up. Anybody that commented on what they did was out of line as far as the ethnics and the church was concerned, because you should have never had a public meeting in the church. The Brown Act still follow you wherever you go in life and things like that. So if you said anything to the public or said anything to the media, you're out of line. The pastors were out of line. You cannot have a public meeting in a church form and mix church and state. Man said it right. So please don't get involved with that no more, because I like you as a commissioner. Number 3, stop promoting this vending ordinance right away. Carol Sobel's not only going to sue you, I'm going to sue you, and it's going to cause a lot of hardship. But who makes the same mistake twice every 10 years? Tiki, you know about it. So let's get on it and let's solve the problem. And with the people, the 40 people, we're going to let them in next time.
Prentice Jenkins, activist since 1991. Published a City Life newsletter. I want to go on record as saying I am a supporter of Officer Jim Parker. He was an openly gay officer. I'm never talking about openly gay officers. I am in support of openly gay officers in the police department. I'm a supporter of Jim Parker. Do not fire Jim Parker. If I told Chief Beck, if he does fire Jim Parker, he will prove Christopher Dorner right. Christopher Dorner said you get rid of good cops and you promote bad cops. If you fire Jim Parker, who was a good cop and saved the police department money, and you don't fire Wampler and Villegas, who killed Ezell Ford, you are absolutely proving Christopher Dorner right. I can't believe you folks are proving the man right. That's exactly what he said you did. And this is exactly what you're doing. You're going after Jim Parker, a good cop. And my suspicion is it's not about what he did. It's about his lifestyle. That's why you're going after Jim Parker, because he's an openly gay cop. Gay Americans have the right to be employed in all facets of corporate and private life in this country. They have the right to do that. The ones I'm talking about, the gay cops I'm talking about, are the ones on the down low, the macho ones. They call them masculine cops that hide their sexuality and stalk straight men. Those are the ones I'm talking. I'm never talking about Jim Parker or any openly gay officer. We need more Jim Parkers. We don't need psychos who killed Ezell Ford. We don't need those cops. We need Jim Parker as a police officer. Now, I know this is boring, Mr. Soboroff. And if it is, maybe give me a couple of Dodger tickets.
This is in regard to men. Men of all races are impregnating women and hurting family life. The men impregnate women of all races for the wrong purposes. They do not marry them. The men make the children on purpose and leave them and their mother, the children and their mother on purpose. One statistic shows that 1/2 of all the ladies in the United States with children have never been married, so this problem is not, it's large. There's one way to stop this wrong against women and children, and that is by contacting the foreign government who rewards their men to make illegitimate children on purpose. The foreign government should be told or demanded to stop rewarding the man and told not to make any more contracts for illegitimate children on American soil. The top-level government officials should talk to that foreign government. Most churches have not been told about this problem, nor have they been told that a foreign government is involved.
Good afternoon. I live at 9th and Broadway here in downtown LA. On October 17th, a permit was issued which blocked Broadway from 9th to Olympic for hours. We were never notified. We are over 50,000 inhabitants in downtown LA. This was an enormous problem. Traffic was at a standstill. I had an event that I needed to go to. Neither Uber nor a taxi could reach me. Now, this event could have been held in a park or some plaza, not to block a major street. And as you are aware, we have only one southbound street now on Broadway. So there was an MTV event earlier this year where we were also captured without ingress, egress. Please don't do this. It's a matter, it could have been an emergency. I can't see how an ambulance could have gotten there. So I would like for you to please respect the inhabitants of downtown. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you kicked out almost all the speakers before they could speak. You should have a new rule. If you're going to kick them out, first take public comment from them and then escort them outside. At least let them talk. But, you see, everybody's bored. One of your commissioners, she don't even show up to the meeting. The one at the end there, she don't say 2 words.
Habla inglés?
I don't think she understands what's going on.
Entiendo usted este medio. Usted no tiene pregunta.
See, she don't understand. See what I mean? So it's up to the 2 dog and pony show experts over here, and then you got Johnson in the middle, don't know nothing in the center. That's the perfect way to run a criminal empire, is to put the people in charge right over a little bit to the left or right over a little bit to the right. Sit back, put somebody else in the front, and then when the shit hits the fan, then you step back and go, well, it was Matt Johnson he was in charge. It wasn't me. I used to be the president of the commission, but now I'm walking out of the meeting. See, I'm walking out of the meeting because I'm Steve Soboroff and I'm really in charge of this shit, and that's why I'm walking out in pure shame. See, because I know I'm ashamed. That's why I'm Steve Soboroff, and I had to leave because Wayne knows how this shit works. Because I know he's a season ticket holder for the Clippers. He's good friends with Sterling, the racist pig. See, we go way back, me and Steve and my family. Matt, you're the sacrificial lamb. Get the fuck out of that chair while you can and save your career and your life. You don't belong there. You're just being used as a fucking puppet.
Eddie H.
Mikael.
Was it that?
This is the solution for black people. I'm asking for separation. We black people have no rights in this country. Why don't you just let us go? We can't get no jobs. I get fired at Dodger Stadium because I get hit by a foul ball and went and got some therapy. Is that racism? It's everywhere. I get arrested by the police twice for selling on the streets. I get arrested another time for 2 white suspects. Isn't that funny? I almost get arrested for eating food in my car. Somebody made a call. A black man is sitting in his car. Police held me up for an hour when nothing happened. I don't have a record. Only record I have is my skin color. So let the black people go and separate from white people and become independent so we can get freedom and justice and jobs. Since you hate us, let us go. And then you don't have to be bothered with us. Then, what about the murders of black people by the police? I'm not a bad person, but I guess my skin is bad. I don't get any sunburns. Black is beautiful, so Black Lives Matter. So let us go. So we can become a sovereignty nation, and we can become free. If you let us go, then we can get our own police department. So I'm asking first politely to let us go. By the way, Dodger Stadium is as racist as the LAPD. Ask Al Campanis. The only way to get me is to shed innocent blood like the rest of us unarmed. So let us go. Thank you.
John Ramirez.
John Ramirez. This is to the commission. This is kind of more like just to ask for some help because it's going on almost 2 years now. In San Pedro, I found a couple of officers in the room when I went to pick up my little girl having sex in front of her. And when I went into the house, I grabbed my little girl, they were in the same room making nasty videos. And since then, they got raided. The house got raided. There was drugs, a lot of methamphetamine, over $2 million. I can't get no help. I'm still being threatened in the street. One of the officer's relatives ran me over about 5 months ago, and I just, I can't get no help. They keep shining me on. They won't answer my calls. I went to the lieutenants over there in San Pedro. They tell me they can't help me because of the officers that were working there, that they know who they are. I went to Long Beach. They won't help me. Internal Affairs won't answer my calls. And I just want to know, maybe if I can step in here and get some help somewhere. And I got evidence that a couple of cassettes and evidence that I ran out the house with, and they keep bothering me to give it to them, but I won't until I get some actual righteous help. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Chief Pasinger, can you have one of your officers speak to him, please?
General Jeff.
Last speaker.
Good afternoon, Commission. The meeting started off with Chief Beck giving a report that crime was up 16%, yet he didn't offer any solutions or remedies or strategies in terms of what the department was doing to address the issue. Olympic Division gave a report. Their second to last slide said crime was up 17%, yet they didn't offer any solutions or remedies to the uptick in crime. Yet this commission and almost every person affiliated with law enforcement in this room gave them an ovation. I don't understand what they're being applauded for when they announced that crime was up 17% within their division within the last 12 months. That is a cause for alarm. I'm not sure exactly what the commission is actually trying to portray, but it is not effectively consoling the citizens of this great city that you all are supposed to be representing. To hear that kids weren't allowed in this public meeting, that is a major concern. the fact that this in the agenda that it had a lot of money was being donated for cadets. I'm trying to figure out. It seems like that is a ploy by the department to actually, quote unquote, wine and dine kids to try to influence them to join the department. That's not a good look. There's got to be a different way to do that. And so to deny the public kids and then choose a favoritism, show favoritism towards another set of kids, that's a double standard. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Ted Hayes, followed by Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Police state, that's what you have when you violate the constitutional right to peacefully assemble. If 40 people are being held outside by the police, we have a police state. Government Code Section 549957.9, authorization to clear the room where meetings willfully interrupted, readmission. In the event that any meeting is willfully interrupted by a group of persons or persons who render the orderly conduct of such meeting unfeasible and order cannot be restored by removal, individuals who are willfully interrupting the meeting, members of the legislative body. That means that requires a vote by the members to have the room cleared, not by the president, not by the chairman, not by the police, but members of the legislative body conducting the meeting may order the meeting room cleared and continue in session. Now, when I was told to leave, I told the officers I wasn't going anywhere unless they arrested me. Because if the police want to take over this meeting and take people out, let them do that. But that requires that they arrest people to do that. Now, a police officer can arrest anyone committing a misdemeanor in their presence, but can they do that here? So I refused to leave. And 2 officers told me to, and I said, sure, I'll leave when you arrest me in handcuffs. Each member of the legislative body who attends a meeting that the legislative body violates any aspect of the Brown Act are committing a crime. Anybody in California can arrest anyone in California. That includes you.
Yes, and I do have to pray for you all because we know you all are just puppets of the real principalities. But so, yeah, the real principalities just using you, and those of us that fight, we're targeted individuals, again, with laser beams, microwaves, illegal entry, shots, germ warfare. But, I really do know that so as the head of an organization, as the body leads it, and this man needs to be removed. I don't like you either. Okay, I think you a house Negro. I didn't say house nigga. Every time I come here, you do nasty things I don't like here. But I think that, I think that Chief Bratton should be removed because he sets a very poor example. And he doesn't listen. He needs to be removed. He doesn't show respect. And I'd like to remind you, for those of you that do read the Bible, Proverbs 30:14, as well as Psalms 37:14, they expose what's happening today. The wealthy, those that seek to devour from the face of the earth, the poor and the needy. We're all under grace and mercy. But, everybody needs to repent. You see a crime, expose it. The highest level of suicide is among police officers. Why? Because you see so much crime and you don't report it. Okay? Thank God for the good officers, but they're too few. How many of you see crimes every day with drugs, alcohol, prostitutes, and you don't report it? And as a black woman on the record, okay, and I thank God for the good cops. We are not seductresses, temptresses, whores, teas. We are not coquetas. We are not home wreckers. We are not sex goddesses, okay, to be labeled and used accordingly. We are not hot lunch, battery chargers, chocolate chips, and Dalmatians. I'm not a food or a dog, okay, not to be used as such in this New World Order in the way that you're categorizing us. And there are women that are still being abused, not just impregnated, but murdered. The one man who was arrested is not the only one carrying out this ritual abuse of black women and homeless women. So I expose that because that's perpetrated by undercover police officers, CIA, off-duty police
Okay,
officers.
thank you
Stop
for your
the ritual.
comments. Do we have any other comments?
We have no other comments on this item. We do have 3 comments in item number 7. We have Prentice Jenkins, Wayne, and Ted Hayes, and Michael Williams. All right.
I want to thank my colleague Tud Hayes here for letting me know that I could comment on closed session. I didn't know that. So, closed session. If officers involve shootings, do they dismiss people who do this? Cops who do this?
Sparking a series of protests. Ford was shot multiple times during an altercation with 2 officers in South LA. Today's service was at Inglewood Park Cemetery. Earlier this year, the police commission found that one of the officers who killed Ford violated policy. But both LAPD Chief Charlie Beck and the Inspector General said both officers acted within policy.
That's what he looks like. Are they dismissed in an officer-involved shooting? That's what his mother looks like. She lost her son.
This is,
Mr. President, that's
off
not on
topic.
the agenda. He's not speaking to the agenda items.
Sir,
This is off topic.
officer-involved shooting.
Not the ones
Not
on
this
the
one.
agenda.
Not this one. This is not on topic. You can make that comment during public comment, but not on these.
It says officer-involved shootings.
It's not officer-involved shootings generally. It is the specific matters that we're seeing.
That's not what you said here.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Next speaker, please.
Clarified. You said officer-involved shooting. This
Next-
was an officer.
next The next speaker, speaker please.
So I'd like you to put 40 more seconds on the clock because you took my time.
Your time is up.
No, my time can't possibly.
Your time is up.
20 seconds.
The next speaker, Wayne.
I cannot believe we're not going to talk about officer shootings. Oh, well, one of the commissioners is out of order. Sandra Figueroa Sucia está enfrente. Este es una manera de boletos, de boom boom.
If you're going to speak
La
on the
boom
matter,
boom.
you're off topic.
Yes. Oh, you just can't stand the humor of all of it. Isn't it fucking funny? You call this shit with these funny little initials, OIS number 7414. How are we supposed to look online and know what this is? When did these incidents occur? What is the date of the incident? Who were the victims? Did the victims retain counsel and file a claim under the government code, which they have 6 months for personal injury? Was there a civil lawsuit filed? These are the things El Presidente does not want to answer. But you're going to go into closed session, and then you're not going to come back out and tell us what happened. Because this is the part where you hide your murderous criminal misconduct. This is the part, the most important part. The kid should be right here. And you should open this session and let us know why we've got 6 cops accused of shooting people and whether this was a criminal-involved shooting, whether there was a referral to the DA. We don't know anything. And these people are just walking around like fucking mummies up here. They don't know where their ass is right now.
Not on topic.
Because the reason that you're acting the way you act is because people in this city know that this bullshit has got to stop. Let us know who these shootings involve.
Ted Hayes.
Quite a number of the agendas have officer-involved shootings on it. I'm concerned with whether you tabulate the number of times those things appear on the agenda and the number of officer-involved shootings that the chief reports occurred. What's the tally going to be like? Can we make an assumption that the number of times we see that on the agenda are the number of times officers commit that particular action. And when the police chief says that there's a number far, far less than that, it doesn't tally well. As I mentioned before, if the press says the police department continually cooks the books and makes the numbers seem good when they need good numbers and numbers low when they need bad numbers, they do that. Now, the Brown Act says that you may indicate the item on the agenda in 25 words or less. Officer involved shooting, that's 3 words. So if one comes up talking about any officer involved shooting, how we should know, particularly when officer involved shootings are personnel matters and they're confidential, how we should know he's not talking about his particular officer involved shooting. You can't know that. So there's no reason to antagonize the speaker by saying he's off topic. The topic is simply officer involved shooting. And if it's only 3 words, it's any officer involved shooting. If it's confidential about the officers, it's any officer involved shooting. So that's how you violate the Brown Act. By constantly harassing these people when they take their 2 minutes to talk, quote unquote, off topic. Who cares? It seems so juvenile and silly for you to harass these people when they carry on this way. I have 3 minutes before my 2 minutes are up.
There are no
Other comments?
There are no other comments on this item. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item number 6A1, 2, and 3 in accordance with Government Code 54957. 7A1, 2, and 3.
Mr. T, if we did the consent calendar now, there'd be nobody here.
Let's do it.
The Board of Police Commissioners has now concluded its work in closed session. We are back in open session. In closed session, item number 7A1 was discussed, and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 7A2 was discussed, and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. And in closed session, item number 7A3 was discussed, and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. Mr. President, is there a motion for adjournment?
Second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Car accident deaths are a possibility, a probability. What if you don't get a chance to say goodbye? What if there are no more birthday celebrations or friendly conversations because you're just not here? Put the phone down. Practice hands-free driving and give yourself and others a chance to participate in life. Obey the rules of the road.
disaster strikes without warning.